Let's go. Got my man Chonky Boy, David Ispuro, Jacked and Stoic, Torture Room, Incidentis, Joshi Omkar 13, Gushlak, Juan Jose Rodriguez Castro, yo, Derwin, what's good? Peter Clements, how to pullover. I already see the questions are coming in. Levon, Cartel Traps, I like that name. Zoko Santos, Happy New Year, you too. Poke Vipe 07, Skill God, Dark White, Joe Anto, Jack, the Mr. Carlos, Vitor, Alex the Man, Logan Florence, Death Roll, Medin Tosin, Joel Alvarez, Happy New Year, brother. Oof, got here early. Yes, you did. I know this is a little bit unexpected, but at the same time, not really, because I've been doing a New Year's live stream every year. I think since 2020. So we're doing this again. In this video, I'm going to be talking about my goals for the year, personal and related to the channel. And I'll be answering all of your fitness questions because we don't do these Q&As very often. So you're getting an exclusive episode. And by the way, the regular Q&As are going to be a thing of the past. And that's kind of what I want to explain more later on in this Q&A, in that I really want my channel to be about high quality longs and just pumping out more shorts. So I'm talking about posting a long at least twice a week without these Q&As. And if you have questions, those can be dedicated topics, or I will literally take your question and put it into the short, kind of what like Justin Lee does. So we're done with those long 35-minute Q&As. It's not worth my time, and there's a better way to deliver this content. So I see a lot of questions are coming in. The audio's a little quiet. Oh yeah? Let me bump this up a little bit. I just don't want to be clipping here. Does that sound better? You guys let me know. Did you watch? No, I didn't watch that guy. Don't know who he is. What do you think of NH School? I think it's long overdue, and he should actually monetize his channel as well. I know he won't do it because he's a bit stubborn with that. Hold on, a bit loud. I'm gonna lower it a bit. Now, my man NH works very hard, and if you look at his Social Blade analytics, we're talking about a middle-class salary if he were to just make YouTube videos. So the fact that he's not monetizing straight up, I still don't understand it. Like, to me, when I had 1,000 subscribers, I was monetized, and I made not much money, but it did help. Either way, we're gonna get screwed over with taxes, and it's not like a crazy amount, but it's certainly helpful, and that money can be used to reinvest right back into the channel. So if the argument is, well, I don't want to take from you or whatever, just get a nice camera. Like, get a $5,000 camera and a $1,000 mic. Like, put all that money straight back into YouTube, and there won't be any complaints, you know? But NH is an honorable man. He doesn't want to do like straight up coaching either. It's really his like group service coaching thing. So that's his prerogative. He can do what he wants. I respect any decision he makes, but I find that he works a little bit too hard for not getting the deserved rewards, you know? Just my opinion. Anyway, I hope the audio is good. Okay, lots of questions. I think I'm going to have to put my glasses on because my eyes are getting worse and worse. Like, I could barely read your questions unless I get close in like this. So screw it. I want it to look like my normal self, but it is what it is. Much better. All right. Guys, I was originally going to title this Q&A The End of Bear Mode, but I decided not to do that. Let's keep it positive. Happy New Year 2025. And but let's address this concern, right? Right now, I am bear mode. Oh, lifters with glasses, my man Basement Bodybuilding. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you too. I've been stumbling on my words. See, I've been off the groove. It's a bit low. Okay, let me raise the audio again. That's the max I'm gonna raise it for today. I'm sorry. Okay, guys. Over the last 3 weeks since I benched 405, I have been eating like an absolute madman. I'm sure many of you have been doing the same thing. And I literally ballooned right up to 190 pounds. So this is closing in on like peak weights. The heaviest I've ever been was 200 back in 2022. And that was like through extreme liquid meals and eating not the best. But in this case, it's been straight up the holidays. There's been multiple gatherings every week. Not only me hosting, but going to other people's houses. So it's been absolutely insane. No portion control, no self-control, just eating like a freaking barrel mode enjoyer. What can I say? And it's been so crazy that I finally feel bloated for the first time in like a year. And I'm looking at my physique and I'm disgusted. I'm like, bro, if this is where I was going to end up, like let's say in a couple of months of continuing to increase my bench, then I don't want it. Like at this point, I think I'd rather just be leaner and take my time to build strength. Like just to say I was doing 315 for 8 reps on the bench at 172. And my relative strength on the bench was not bad, you know, like 405 bench at 181. And now here I am at 190 with probably no increase in the bench because it was just pure fat gain over a short period of time. So I kind of screwed myself over, but it also gave me a taste of like what I don't want. Still a better physique than 90% of men. Yeah, I'm pretty freaking swole right now. Like I'm wearing extra large clothing. Keep in mind, I'm only 5'5", and like everything that I have in my wardrobe, including barbell apparel, is tight as hell. So half the stuff I can't even wear, you know, because keep in mind, I got sponsored with barbell apparel when I was weighing in at like 165, and I've been pretty lean over the last 2 years, you know, with the exception of the bear mode thing last year, which I always freaking do, but it was kind of short term, you know. In this case, what am I even saying? Look, my clothes don't freaking fit me. I can't get my pants on. I'm wearing like track pants 24/7, loose hoodies, looser tops. Like I just feel constricted. I feel disgusting. I'm looking at my physique. I can't do this anymore, you know. But that said, thank God that barbell apparel has me covered, you know. I can request clothes and they'll send it over. Your channel really changed the game for me, bro. Made the best gains using your methods and advice. 2025 will be the year for everyone for this live. It absolutely will be. Thank you for that donation, Luna. This is going to be a year for the people, and I'm going to do my best to give you this knowledge, you know. So it's not going to be about me anymore. So going back to what I was saying, Osher 3 Alpha. What's good, homie? Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you. Listen, I'm too heavy right now. I don't like what I see. And I'm willing to make the trade-off that I just want to be leaner and rock it. Because let me tell you guys something. Discipline equals happiness. Just like with the vegan shit. I've been doing it for an entire year straight. And I prefer that over being 90% plant-based, where you allow yourself to have a little bit of animal products here and there. For me, and anything in life, it's easier to go all the way than having some room for fun. Whenever I've tried to bend the rules, it doesn't go my way. I can't do balance. I don't know what balance is. It's just my brain isn't wired like that. I only work in extremes. If I'm gonna cut, I'm gonna do it 100%, get shredded. If I'm gonna bulk, I'm gonna get freaking bear mode. I'm gonna get husky. I don't do mini cuts. I don't do mini bulks. I go all in, you know? And the same with my goals pertaining to strength and whatever. So it's got to be the same. I got to have this as my default year round, because whenever I start being lukewarm, as Dave just pointed out, it doesn't end well. So we have extremely addictive personalities. It also explains the love for the conjugate system and having all these various goals in fitness, you know? So I just want to be disciplined. Forget about how I feel. Stay lean year round. Track all my food. Forget about being full or just enjoying my life as it pertains to eating. You know, I got to sever that relationship. I've been a foodie all my life, you know, growing up in the Italian neighborhood, being an absolute slob. And those days need to stop. You know, especially as we're getting older, it's not good for your longevity. You know, the more calories you eat. So although I do know for a fact that my gains will be slower once I decide to do that, because what I've been doing now is optimal, I'm willing to make that sacrifice for the sake of discipline, for the sake of consistency, and just to look better, because this isn't good for business either. Like embarrassed to take my freaking shirt off and film a tutorial of anything. You know, I won't do it. I'm not going to show you guys how to build bigger pecs and then I go ahead and do a pec bounce, you know? I can't even flex for the striations because they're not there, you know? So if I'm not comfortable, if I got to wear all these like big clothes, then there's a freaking problem. So I'm done. I'm freaking done, guys. And I'm going to kickstart this year with an aggressive fat loss diet. Lyle McDonald style. So I don't know how long it's going to take to get like properly lean again. But based off what I saw with Izzy Navarez from Powerlifting to Win, he dropped, I believe, 30 pounds in 80 days. So I think I could do the same thing. I got the discipline. I'm an absolute nut job when it comes to nailing in all these calories. So that's what I'm going to do. High protein. And the way that looks like, guys, is essentially getting between 120 to 150 grams of protein a day. And having the carbs be very low and the fat very low. So what Lyle says, and he actually just did a whole guide recently that you can check out. It's a high protein diet that is basically like keto but without the fat, you know? Just short term to really strip off most of the fat, and then you plug in some micronutrient rich foods and some supplementation to ensure that you don't have nutritional deficiencies. So in that case, you take a multivitamin, omega-3, in this case, an algae-based supplement, and then maybe some electrolytes if you want, like potassium chloride, maybe a little bit of magnesium, but for me, I'm just going to do potassium chloride. And then you have a lot of like dark leafy greens. So thing is, I'm doing it on a vegan diet, right? So it's going to be a little bit more tricky. Yes, the 4-hour clip about fat loss. Protein sparing fast. Protein modified, you know? So for that, doing it on a plant-based diet, it's a lot harder, obviously, because whenever, and I kind of learned this last year when I got shredded, every time you have a protein source, it also contains carbohydrates. So when people think of beans as protein, for example, if you look up the carb count, it really adds up. So what you find is that when you're going through the depletion stages at the end, you still end up with a relatively high amount of carbs, which is nothing bad in itself, but you'll still be like in the 150 to 200 zone. Therefore, if you want to drop those carbs, you have to go more so the processed route or resort to liquid meals. See, Lolis says, Lyle McDonald basically said he doesn't believe a vegan can do it in that long video. If you execute, that you should show that it's possible for people who watch that video. It is possible. It's just harder because the protein sources are tied to carbs. But I can do it with tofu and protein shakes, you know? And the beans, yeah, there's going to be some carbs that come along for the ride. But if the goal is to get like 900 to 1200 calories, which is really freaking low, well, by default, the carbs are going to be low as well, even if the macros aren't perfect per se. And actually, I think this would be a good way to get the fiber and the micronutrients in. So I'm going to be a tester. We're going to see how this goes. But it's, you know, I've never done this before. Let's see how much weight I could lose in like 3 months or whatever. I think it's going to be very aggressive. I don't want to do the 6-month cutting anymore. Let's do it in half the freaking time. And that should be, you know, pretty good. I was thinking maybe I'm too going to fast with a 1,000 calorie deficit. Try it, man. If the protein is high enough and you manage your volume and intensity the right way, you should be able to preserve a lot more muscle than you think. So it's actually more difficult to lose muscle. And actually, let's see, I've done a protein sparing modified fast and lost 25 pounds in 3 months. My main regret was not training as hard as I could, time efficient though. See, that's freaking awesome. 25 pounds in 3 months. I'm looking to do the same thing. Damn, Alex is live. I ain't missing this. Welcome aboard, brother. So I'm going to try this out. It's not going to be fun. I already know. But the other thing that adds on to this fat loss is going to be my extreme burpee routine. So funny enough, I've never actually done burpees at 190 pounds before. I've always done them in the low 180s or in the 170s. And of course, when I'm just naturally lean, right? So now I'm on it. And what I've decided to do is 365 days of burpees. So that's the best I've ever done is 69 days straight. I know, interesting number. And that was very difficult because towards the end, I was doing over 300 burpees every day. So what I realized is 125 daily is the minimum. And then you have your more intense days where you can bring it up to 200, 250, 300, and then in the 500 zone, then you have your workouts that close into 1,000, but that's going to be once in the blue moon. The minimum is like 12 minutes a day, you know. I think the fastest I've done 125 burpees was in 9 minutes and 50 seconds. So that's like you're taking no break, you know. But the burpees are going to be essential for conditioning, mental toughness, and discipline. And I swear to you guys that it is the most effective form of cardio I've ever done in my life. Many of you don't know this, but when I was younger, I used to be a competitive track athlete. And I also did swimming, mostly to skip out from school, you know, because you would have these competitions and whatnot. And I also used to do morning jogs every single day because I was doing calisthenics. So I was basically at the park doing push-ups, pull-ups, and dips. And then I'd be doing sprints, jogging, and swimming. So that's kind of my background from back in the day. And out of those, I would say that swimming was annihilating, definitely harder than the running stuff. I also did like a very short duration of MMA, and that was probably as hard as the swimming. But a step above that is the freaking burpees, guys. I swear to you, there's nothing like it. You know, I even do jump rope every day, and the jump rope feels like a warm-up by comparison. Like 1,000 skips feels like 200 burpees, but it's way less taxing. So having tried all these forms of cardio for well over a decade by now, I've concluded that the burpee is the most uncomfortable. It just gasses you out like nothing else, especially when you got muscle on your body. You got this heavy physique that you're moving around, getting up and down. You feel the shoulders, the pecs, the tries, even the quads when you do the rocking chair form. It'll turn you into a man, you know? And the way I see it is that you got these freaking prisoners who are doing this every day because they got no choice. They got to show that they're tough enough, you know, or they got to keep their windpipe up, quote unquote, because otherwise, you know, they risk getting into a fight, taken advantage of, stabbed, whatever, right? So they're doing this for life and death. And, you know, it is what it is. They work out in groups and you can't skip your burpees. If you do, you're in trouble. So if some dude is, you know, doing this day after day for years, then what's my excuse? Why can't I do it? Especially living in Canada, it's freaking cold out here. The best thing to do is hitting burpees in my garage. You know, I'm not going to go for freezing walks outside or going for jogs, and I'm not going to buy a freaking treadmill either. I don't want that. We're just going to do burpees and jump rope. And then when spring rolls around, then I'll start doing some running outside, some sprints at the park, you know, fun stuff like that. But leading up to that point, we're going prison mode. And the major benefit is the discipline aspect. The burpees are used in prison and in the military. There's a reason for that. You know, not just about the convenience aspect that you could do it anywhere, you know. But that is nice. So burpees every day, 365 days. We are on day 4. I started on the 31st, so forget about waiting till the 1st. That's how goals work, you know. It's like all you guys who are waiting to start your diet, today is Friday, you're going to wait till Monday. That is a big mistake. Get on it today, the moment this freaking live stream is ended. So that's basically how I'm going to get lean, guys. Burpees every day, and then a rapid fat loss diet. And it won't take long at all. And in that process, I'll continue maxing out on my upper body. So doing a lot of incline benching. Maybe I'll even get stronger for the time being because of my absolute weight. And then I'll do a lot of dips as well. And of course, the pull-up game should be fine. Arms are 17 inches. They're not, it could be bigger. I have really bad arm genetics, guys. And because I haven't been hitting my extensions as hard or doing much long head work, that's what they've tapped out at. So they've been 17 and a quarter. Right now, they're just 17. And to be honest, I think like it's going to be hard getting them bigger. Like, I don't know. 17 and a half, how long is that going to take? And that's the other thing with the freaking bench, right? For me to hit these goals that guys are talking about, it's going to take like 2 years of bench specialization. And seeing as, first of all, my audience is not interested in this. It's not worth my time. And considering the health implications, or in general, just having to eat all this extra food to get it done, it's still not worth it. So I think, it's just, if you're not seeing good feedback from something, then people could say all day like, oh yeah, you're inspiring me. What you're doing is an inspiration to the natural community. But if there's, without reciprocation, that you don't care to see my progress, then I'm just not gonna be as obsessed about it, especially when I'm going through some negative things, not being able to fit into my clothes and whatever. So anyway, I'm not trying to sound negative or rant or whatever, but it's like, it's a lot of work to bench 405 and above. Everything's got to be dialed in. Your programming needs to be freaking perfect. And it's a lot of weight to be hoisting up, And when you see that one photo of yourself looking shredded or just decently lean, like even at 165, one shirtless selfie gets triple the engagement of benching people's deadlift 100 max. It's like, it's kind of demotivating, not gonna lie. It's like, why am I doing this? So what do you want to do? Gonna get lean, but I will tell you this regarding the 405 thing. This year I will be releasing a 405 bench program. I don't know if I'm gonna call it that, or advanced bench press program, or elite bench press program, or Alpha Destiny bench press program, or Conjugate bench press program. I don't know. Maybe you can give me some recommendations here. But I'm going to release this manual, which will be like a 6-month system, which includes all the variations that you've seen me do. Yes, you're going to need specialty bars. Yes, you're going to need bands and chains. And yes, you'll probably need like a 275 bench starting point. It's not for intermediates. It's not for novices. It's strictly for people who are already very strong at the bench and want to take it to an even higher level. And it's for the minority of my audience, those who actually watched my Road to 405 bench series, who joined the membership. I know that those are the guys who are hitting big weights. But if people want to hit what I hit or go beyond, because I'm nobody special, okay? I'm fucking nothing compared to the Silver Era GOATs. If people want to do what I did, they can. I wish I knew this information sooner. So you will see a 405 bench program that's coming this year. Look at guys like Marvin Eder from back in the day, benching 500 at 198. I'm seeing a bunch of guys benching 405 right now. It's actually a lot less special than it used to be, straight up. But I'm proud of it, It's still an impressive achievement. Yeah, in the Silver Era, we had guys hitting 500 like it was nothing. Mid fours, that was a common thing. Leroy Colbert, who wasn't even a bench specialist, did 405. And mind you, flat back. No scapular retraction. Not even the best bench. Sometimes it was like a wooden board kind of thing. So, natties can get way stronger than they realize. So expect that for this year. You can also expect the Conjugate calisthenics program to come out. Because especially as I lean out, I can demonstrate to you all these crazy moves, show you how to get big with body weight training, show you how to maximize your 1 max strength on the pull-up and dip, get conditioned at the same time. You can expect a GPP manual potentially to go with that. Calisthenics only for the most part. And then if you really want, I can throw in like a high intensity bodybuilding program, which is how I've been training for the last 2 years. What I did leading up to my bodybuilding competition and what I did after that point. All the playing around that I've done. And for that, the program would be an upper lower push pull, or like a push pull legs upper arms routine. One of those two. Or like a 3-day upper lower, you know. I can include some options, but I've learned a lot about hypertrophy training, and that would be a good one for you guys, you know. Not high volume, but showing the best movements that I feel are time proven and effective for bodybuilding, and just training hard, you know. And then maybe a novice program 2.0, and then nutrition stuff. That would be like, I don't know, maybe it's pushing it if I do all those things. That probably have to be reserved for next year. But we're talking at least like 1, 2, 3, 4 programs this year. So look out for it. And like I said at the beginning, I want to upload more longs on this channel, at least 2 a week. Over the last couple months, you've been getting like 1 long a week, and then maybe a couple shorts here and there. The thing is, it takes me a lot of time to make these videos, but what I'm going to do is sacrifice aspects of my personal life to get this done for you guys. So I'm not going to have any enjoyment, is what I'm trying to say. And that's where the discipline through the burpees and getting lean and all that is going to be so helpful, you know? So I'm just going to work nonstop from morning till night. I don't care how I feel. We're going to get it done. And through that, I mean, you constantly have questions coming in that I could be answering. I got videos from back in the day that need to be remastered, like the reverse grip bench. I redid that last year because the first video didn't have any B-roll, you know? So you have to ask how I got to this point initially, and that was through essentially having no life. No gaming, no television, nothing. So expect more content. I'm going to give you everything I have. I'm going to be working like a dog. Fuck my enjoyment. Fuck how I feel. Discipline is the only way. So there you go. And that's when I feel satisfied in my life. You know, it's not when I'm chilling, I'm comfy. You got to be uncomfortable. That's right. Discipline equals freedom. And of course, you know, that means I got to write every night. I got to read every day as well. I got to be on top of my game. The same strategies I used to get now, expect that in 2025. Jesus, dude, you'll burn out. You know what? I don't care if I burn out. Forget about it. If I burn out, it'll be towards the end of the year, and then I can take a nice little break. You know, I'll have my moments. Anyway, I think that's about it. Maybe strength goals. I can go for a 300-pound dip, or like 6 plates, or 7 potentially. And for the lower body, I want to start doing more like Hatfield squats and just like athletic lower body training, you know? Like I've actually never done Cossack squats or trap bar jumps. I've never tried like some of the Olympic lifts, so maybe there's some potential there. Want to do more box squats, more like behind the back lifts again. You know, I think there's some fun things that I could do, but I definitely don't want to train like a power lifter. To me, that's the most boring form of training imaginable. I'd probably quit the gym if I was forced to do that. So I absolutely despise powerlifting training. I despise the low bar squat. I'm never doing it again. And I just want to do hard variations or just overloading my legs, getting more athletic, explosive, all that stuff, you know? I don't care if they have like massive legs. They've been up to 27 inches before. But if I can, you know, have them 25, 26, lean and strong, that's what's up, you know? And with that, we're going to train some freaking calves. Blow up these suckers. I haven't really trained them properly. And yeah, that's about it, guys. Maybe when I'm shredded, I'll join a fighting sport again. Maybe I'll do some weighted muscle ups because I got the freaking height. And then maybe take on a bit more clients as well for y'all, because I'm very selective with who I choose to work with. So what I'm trying to say is we're going to do absolutely everything. We're going all out. So thanks for sticking with my rant. I don't know how long I was talking for, but now let's answer some questions. And I apologize for my brain being all over the place. You know, my thoughts haven't, like I said, I've been taking it way too easy recently. All right, Jack. Alex, he said last year the programs would come out. Will they actually come out this year? Yes, this year is official. Last year I got caught up in some personal things. You know, I moved into a new house. I decided to favor my own selfish goals, like pursuing a 405 bench, you know, and other things. I've been very selfish. I've been very egotistical in that way. And that's why I want to make this about you. So yeah, this year you will get it. Alex, when are you going to judge people's genes? And how is that going to change anything? If I look at your physique and say, oh, you're genetically blessed for this or that, to me, that's a waste of time. The best thing I could do is assess your muscular weaknesses, what your current lifts are, and then try to, you know, balance things out and just fix your overall programming. Maybe look at your diet, see where you're lacking micronutrient wise, or if you're eating too many or too little calories. I prefer to focus on things that you have control over. What do you look for in a potential client? If you're serious, you have to be willing to do what I tell you, and you can't bend on that. I'm only going to work with hardcore people who want the best, you know? Like if I see that you're not pushing it, then, or you're not tough in general, I'm not going to work with you. And you can spot that very early on. I want to start using expanders. Which should I begin? As in deciding which product to purchase, assuming unlimited budget. So if you have an unlimited budget from day one, I would just go with the best of the best, Robert Baraban. So shop.handgripper.net. But if you want a more calculated approach, which I'll transfer over to everybody watching this now, it's probably best to buy like a really crappy expander off Amazon. So it'll run you like $25 just so you can see if you like the movement. Yes, the longevity won't be there. The spring's going to be pretty bad. But you can get a couple months of good training out of that thing, you know, where you max it out. Try to get like 5 springs for reps. And from there on, if you like the expander, you upgrade. And that's what I did. And for that, you can either go again with Robert or Bells of Steel. But keep in mind, the Bells of Steel one is a knockoff. Robert's is the original. And Robert, you have access to the super springs, which is like going above 7 springs. So you get what you pay for. With Robert's stuff, it's literally made in Austria using German steel. And it's the best expander in the world. Like everybody's basing their models off of his. He's the OG in this. It's like when people started copying the mag grips, you know? So you do what you want. Panchito, regarding Ian Barseagle, I actually answered that exact question about the 2 sets method last Q&A, and it's timestamped. Now, I think it's absolutely brilliant. I've been training like that since October of 2022, with some modifications, of course. Like for him, it's like he'll do 2 compound movements, 2 sets each, so 4 sets of compounds, and he does it every 5 days. Now for me, I've done 6 sets of compounds, so I'll do 3 compounds with 2 sets, and I'll hit isolation work. And I'll do that every 72 to 96 hours, not every 5 days. The only thing I'm doing 5 days on is the pressing, but I don't find you need that for the back, for example. But if you do the full 5 days, that's fine too. You're going to have perfect recovery every single time. So the setup is great. The only thing that I find weird is saying that you can only stick to the 8 to 15 rep range. Why? I'd also include some low reps in there. And also, this idea that you should never rotate lifts, to me, is a bad idea. You see, Ian is still young, and I don't think he's experienced any major injuries. But to last in this game, you need to have exercise rotation. All the guys who follow high specificity end up banged up by their late 20s, early 30s. It's not the way to train for decades. So I hope he doesn't learn that the hard way. But I guess our approaches are similar, just that I do variations of the weighted dip and the weighted pull-up. And I hit accessories immediately after. But the whole 2 sets thing, I mean, I'm 100% on board with that. My lips have been freaking dry recently with the winter. We got a donation from Tiago Neto. Thoughts about flexible training approach. 1, define weekly volume and select 2 to 4 movements per muscle. 2, after that, the training would be fully auto-regulated. Changes in frequency, exercises for the day, etc. Well, first of all, like, what are you asking me to write you a program on the spot? I'm a bit confused here. First of all, the weekly volume thing, it depends on your reps in reserve. Like, I generally prescribe 1 to 2 reps in reserve, or sometimes going to failure if you're someone who needs to train harder. Like, that's something that's lagging for you. But what I would say is, per workout, you should not be doing more than around 8 sets per body part. Like, that's the max that would realistically do. And I personally do less. Like, even when it came to benching 405, I did 6 sets of chest work a week, which would be like 3 sets of bench, 3 sets of overhead press, done twice a week. So if I was able to do that with very little volume, then I don't see why I would creep it up to like 10 or 12 sets for the chest, you know? So the thing is, you also have to look at how strong you are, right? The stronger you get, the less volume you probably need, because the absolute load messes you up so much. So if I do 1 set of 10 with 315 on the bench, I'm trashed. Like, it's hard to do anything else after. I could do a back down set and maybe 1 more, but probably don't need to do many chest compounds after, or even hit the chest crusher or whatever. And that's why, like, doing more out of less weight variations so you can get a little bit more sets in and a bit more compounds is helpful. So without knowing, because I don't know anything about you. I don't know how strong you are. I don't know what you're currently running. This is just a generic, like, I have no idea, right? But what I would say is, start with the lowest volume that you can get away with. Do 2 to 3 compound movements per workout and 1 to 2 isolations for the secondary muscle, whether it be like a chest and tricep or a chest and bicep, whatever. And then in regards to auto-regulating the progression, well, first of all, changes in frequency should not be adjusted. That's a staple. Whatever you choose for that program, if it's a 3-month program and you're doing twice a week, keep it at twice a week. You don't have to do like twice a week, 1 week, and then 3 times a week on the next. And in regards to exercises for the day, you rotate either when plateaus come in or right before the plateau kicks in, which, if you want to be smart about it, could be like 3 weeks for the main compounds and 4 to 6 weeks on the accessories. Or what I just said times 2, if you're someone who can milk out slower progression. And this is assuming that you're running like a basic double progression, or you're increasing the percentage by like 2.5 to 5% per workout kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question properly. I hope I did. I would just say, for follow-up questions, make sure you're specific with where you're currently at, you know? Couldn't resist from this angle. Talking about my nose. I got a pretty good nose, you know. Although my nose gets fatter. You know, look at that freaking beard. What's up? It's getting big, eh? That's another goal of mine. Maybe grow out a yeard. We will see. All right. Yo, guys. Let's minimize these donations, please. I appreciate it, but my favorite thing with these live Q&As is when we're just going back and forth, you know? Makes it more authentic that way. So, Neanderthal training video. Oh, here's a good one by that guy. Alex, did you use Conjugate for your pull-up progression? I'm going to try to implement it, but I seem to be struggling to progress my 1 rep max. Yes. Everything that, like, whenever I focus on strength, for any lift, Conjugate is my default. It's the only thing that I've ever done to build these elite numbers. Weighted pull-ups, weighted dips, it's always Conjugate. Actually, because you're a member, if you go in the Road to Shredded playlist, you'll see the exact workouts I was doing, which is essentially Conjugate pull-ups and dips, which means rotating max effort variations every single week. So maxing out with 30, 60, and 90 pounds of chains and changing up the grips and doing pauses. So I don't know if you're doing that or if you've tried it, but I found it's the best way to progress on everything. It's my universal default. And that's why I'm going to be the first guy who writes the book, Conjugate Calisthenics. Why would it not work? The same program that got me a 405 bench is what got me to 8 one-arm pull-ups and 4 plates on the weighted pull-up and a 250-pound weighted dip and a 507 squat and a 600 dead and a 225 OHP and a 242 times seated overhead press. You know? It's all in the system. This is not by accident. You think creatine is worth it? Yes, because creatine is inexpensive as hell. I remember during 2020, the price went up very short term. It used to be that it would cost like $15, $20 for a container of creatine, but all of a sudden it bumped up to $60. And some companies were even charging higher. So that was insanity. It wasn't worth it. But once that stopped, things got back to normal. The price of creatine dropped down to what it should be. So you should be on it. And actually take more than what is typically prescribed. Try 10 grams a day as opposed to 5. That's what I did this year. You know? What exercise gave you those huge and fully developed lower and middle traps? Well, it's just having a complete back in general, not neglecting any of the major movement patterns. I've done every variation you could think of. All my bent over rows, all the good mornings, all the safety bar squats, all the pull-up grips. Like, I can't think of any weaknesses when it comes to the back. That's probably the one area of my physique that everything is on point because I've done it all. But in regards to my recent development to the lower and middle traps, I would actually have to credit the chest expander, which I've been using for 2 years now, maybe even 3. It's 2.5 years. It's gonna be 3 soon. Bro, once I started with that, it's when I got that sinewy look, which I noticed the first time when I got shredded. And since then, it's only gotten crazier. So if you look at the back of Fred Rollon, for example, he has this crazy separation in the mid to low traps. And he didn't even do rows. The chest expander was the only thing that he used. So what was lagging on his physique was the lats. But in terms of like that upper back separation, it was all there. So that's been the ultimate mass builder. I wish I started doing it sooner. And I do credit it to my recent gains. I know it's 100% the chest expander. And if it's not that, then I can't think of like what else it possibly could be. You know, because I never used to look like that. And it's not a coincidence that my physique resembles Fred Rollon now. I got a lot stronger at it. Now I'm doing 2.5 springs, super springs. I could do 8 regular springs. Underhand grip, horizontal, vertical, it's a joke. I could do like 20 plus reps. So we're pretty strong at that. It's also hella fun. Feels like Captain America ripping logs apart. That's a good way to say it. I gotta go soon, but can you guys ask Alex to come on my podcast so I can ask him about his origin story, lifting, veganism, and other stuff? Sure, man. Thanks for tuning in. Hit me up on IG, and I'll definitely go on your podcast. It's not a problem. Thanks for being here, and you keep up the good work with the guests that you've been recruiting. I saw you with GVS. Let's go. I already answered your question, Rick. No, I don't use a dynamometer. Is that the thing that it assesses how, like, your explosiveness? I did talk to a guy at the Ohio Sports Festival, and he swore by this thing. He was trying to sell me on it, and I'm like, okay, sounds cool, but not really interested. I assess through my training footage since I record everything I do. The only thing I don't film are my burpee workouts because I find it takes me out of the groove. It's like the one thing that I want to be focused on 100%. Actually, filming calisthenics in general, when you're doing like high reps and low rest, is difficult. Like if you try filming 1,000 push-ups from different angles, it's work. You basically never get a chance to breathe because you're constantly moving your tripod around. I mean, it would help if somebody followed you, but you're doing it by yourself. It's a bit different. How old were you when you started calisthenics? I'm 28. Is it too late? How long did it take you to get good at it? Oh, I started... Well, first of all, I've been training for 15 years. So, that means I started calisthenics when I was 13. But I could have sworn I started at 12 also, maybe a little bit here and there. So I think I was 13 years old, and I would do it for the next 3 years. So up until like 16, and then I joined the gym, trained hard till 17. And then shortly after, I ended up making the YouTube channel. Like I was 17 going on 18. Like tip, you know? In terms of how long it took to get good at calisthenics, pretty fast, I would say. But the thing is, I had no idea what I was doing. I used to run this workout. It was called Passion for Profession. And I just straight up copied like Hannibal for King's workout. The around the world routine, which consisted of high rep pull-ups, dips, and push-ups in that order. And then doing a lot of pistol squats on the side. And then like jumping on these ledges for legs. With the jogging, whatever. But I would say like, well, look, I went from 120 pounds to 143 pounds at maybe 11% body fat, if that. I was very lean. Like I had crazy abs, you know? So I gained 23 pounds. Now, maybe some of it was through puberty. That's possible. But I also stopped growing at 15 years old. I think I hit puberty at the end of grade 6 or secondary 1, which Americans call grade 7. And by secondary 3, I was done growing. So I had like a very short run with puberty. So 15, like my height was over, you know? I don't know if other things grew. Like I know my face would change. Maybe my rib cage got bigger, but yeah. Calisthenics served me well for a good 3 years. And day one of joining the gym, I was doing 50 muscle ups. Sorry, 50 dips. My bad. Please don't quote that. 50 dips and 15 muscle ups. And I was able to do, I think, 100 140 or 120 something push-ups. And the school that I went to, I broke the record. And I bet I still have the record there. So there was nobody who was as fit as me. And I credit calisthenics all the way to that. And also I was doing weighted push-ups and weighted dips day one of joining the gym. I think I started with a plate. So that was through high volume calisthenics, street workouts. Like after like a year of training, you're going to see so much progress. It's unbelievable. But 3 years does wonders, you know? If that's all you do, you get crazy fit as well. And no, it's not too late starting at 28. You're still relatively young. There is actually my man Mechanimal. He started training at, I think, 25. And now he's like 40. Guys don't realize how old he is. Because he looks young, you know? But he started in his mid-20s. So did GVS start lifting at 25, I think. There you go, GVS as well. So that's not an excuse. Like, by the time you're 30, if you do nothing but calisthenics, you should be like in the best shape of your life. Many people peak into their 40s, yes, and 35 years old appears to be like the ultimate age. So just off that, like let's say you would start training at 30 and your first 5 years, you gain the majority of your muscle. Well, by 35, you have your dream physique. Realistically speaking. So I think you're going to be just fine, my man, especially now with the resources we have. You know, follow my calisthenics videos. Look at Daniel from Fitness FAQs. You know, don't be afraid to spend some money. And you're going to be hella set for sure. Alex, what are your parents' height? So my mom, I think she was 5'2", but now she shrunk down because she's older. She's going to turn 60 this year. And my father is 5'9" or 5'9.5". And I ended up being 5'5". So that's how that mixed. I really got the average of the two. What do you want to do? I'm shorter than my dad. Crazy, eh? Oh, and do they train? Yes. My father used to do bodybuilding when he was young. He used to train at Gold's Gym, actually, back in the day. He met Arnold. I think Arnold was in his early 40s at the time. So they actually took a picture together and whatever. But yeah, my dad was an inspiration for me when I was young. We used to go for walks in the park, and he would flex his arm, and I put my hand on it like, God damn, I want to look like that. And the biggest he got to was 205, relatively lean at 5'9". So, yeah. And my mom used to do gymnastics and swimming. So we come from an athletic family. My cousin, he was qualifying. He was trying to be an Olympic athlete in swimming. And he missed it by like a couple milliseconds. So at that level, like, it's very tight. So he started swimming at 5 years old. And by the time he was, I think, 20, that's when he applied for the Olympics. And he was like this close. And I believe it's because people around him were likely enhanced and he chose not to go down that route that it cost him, well, all those years of training. Because the standard's going to be higher in terms of speed, right? But he was a serious athlete. This close. See how drugs ruin everything? That would be my little excuse for that. Stop spamming. I don't see anybody spamming here. Okay. Is dynamic double progression better than conjugate if I want to increase my bench? I don't think it is. Otherwise, I would have done it for my 405 bench journey. But I would say it's the second best thing. Like a lot of guys who obsess about periodization, all these complicated forms of training, would be better off just doing dynamic double progression or double progression, or simply doing a top set back down approach, which if you think about it, could be counted as dynamic double progression. So, yeah, I don't think you need, that's a question I had as well. Just started Conjugate and it's amazing. The thing with Conjugate is that you do weekly max effort singles, and that's the true magic of it. The exercise rotation part, you can include that on any routine. So, like if you wanted a really good program, just do like dynamic double progression every 5 days for your benching workouts, and then rotate the movements every 3 weeks. That would be a good blend if you don't want to run the max effort method. But in that case, keep the volume low, so the 2 sets thing, and train to 0 to 1 reps in reserve. Try it out. Alex, sorry, can you read my super chat before it gets lost? Yes. Right after I answer this guy's question about RDLs or good mornings, if I could only choose one, I'm going to be honest, man, and this might sound insane to a lot of you, I would probably pick the good morning. Don't get me wrong, RDLs are S tier, but you put more weight on the damn bar, which could be annoying when you're very strong. Just to say, I've done 405 for 15 reps and 455 for 9 reps. So when I go to load up an RDL, that means I'm in the 400s every single time. Even when I was shredded, I was still repping 4 plates on the RDL. Whereas with the good morning, you can automatically slash that load in half. And I love that. Right now, I'm doing and I'm barrel mode, okay? I'm doing 220 on the reverse SSB. So the camber is facing up, which pulls the weight out in front of you. And I'm going all the way down, so ass to grass. Paris Butler just did the same thing if you go on his Instagram page. And he can deadlift, he can RDL 5 plates for reps. So the good morning has a superior stimulus to fatigue ratio. And it's so simple because for legs, I emphasize barbell back squats, right? Whether it's with a straight bar or SSB. And once I'm done my top set, I take off a plate and I go straight into good mornings. No warm-up needed, which has good carryover to my squat and my deadlift. And I could do more volume with it without feeling as trashed. I tell you, the good morning, it's changed my life. I started doing them again in 2019 with an empty bar, worked my way up 5 pounds of workout, and here we are. My best set is 325 for 10 reps, which I could probably do this instant. But I'm choosing again to get more out of less weight by switching to the SSB, doing it in reverse, and then going all the way down. Ass to grass good mornings. Try it out, where the torso is not just like this at a 45-degree angle, but parallel to the floor or a lot closer to it. I'm telling you, it's going to strengthen you like nothing else. But RDLs are great. I just value good mornings a bit more. And then this guy, eat more meat and organs. Then you put a picture of a gorilla. Like, dude, the gorilla emoji is what vegans use. And that's what I am. So you're in the wrong comment section. By the way, I've done the whole organ meat thing. Completely overrated. And I eat meat all my life. I come from a hunter family. So I've eaten moose, deer. I used to eat heart, liver, all that stuff. It's a scam. You guys think you're all primal and shit. I get more nutrition now with eating whole food plant-based. And I got just as big, just as strong, even more shredded, better physique. You have fun eating like a Neanderthal if that's what you want to do. But I'm not going to. And I'm thriving, Just to say, I managed to bulk up to 190. Crazy as hell. I didn't even think that was possible. Is it easy to gain weight as a vegan for bodybuilding? If you do like real whole food plant-based, it's kind of difficult. But if you start going back to your roots, like you go a bit more processed, it's very easy. Like I've been eating a lot of pasta recently, but not like, okay, adding way too much oil, having too much red sauce, and making pasta the main dish. You see, when Dr. Longo talks about pasta, he means that you're adding beans and vegetables to the dish so that the ratio between the pasta and the extra stuff is inverted. So it might be like 70% beans and vegetables, 30% pasta. But if you're doing the opposite, it's very easy to gain weight, especially when you're dumping oil all over your food. So, and you got to be careful with the pre-made stuff. You know, things that you just pop in the oven, you're going to gain a lot of weight doing that. Or being like a vegan junk food eater. That is not the way to go about it. But I'm telling you right now, if you're eating oat groats with berries, and you're having arugula with quinoa and beans, and lentil curries, and Costa Rican soup, which consists of yuca, sweet potatoes, you know, and you're having tofu, you're eating properly, it's going to be hard to gain weight, man. Like, after I got shredded, I stayed that way for a good 2 months. There wasn't a rebound in weight. But once I decided that I was going to experiment more with just eating normally, quote unquote, but having the veganized version, the weight came back on. So you have to make a decision that you're going to do whole foods. 12 years. Keep it up, man. It's the way to go. Thank you, man. I'm 1 year strong, official. Uncle Alex, bless my gains, King. Bless you. All right. Let's go back to the super chat because this guy had asked me to answer his question. I had you pretty early. Where are you? Zoko Santos. Oh, man. Alex, the GOAT, can you do a pec balance for 15 seconds plus happy 2025? I ended up doing this last time, and I will do it again for you. All right. All right. I think we are set. Some freaky D action. Hey, yo. I love you, Alex. Chonky boy. Content. This is what you pay me for? Okay. Alexing my Leonidas. You know, be a challenge. Doing a pec bounce for the remainder of this Q&A. Just answering all your questions casually, just doing this. I tell you, my mind-muscle connection, since I started doing this bench specialization, it's crazy. Your volume is a bit low, my man. Is it? Because right here, if I speak, I'm at minus 20. I'm going to go to minus 8. 1 second. Okay, this should be blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm clipping a bit less. Let's go. No, a bit more. Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo. Okay, I think that's good. Because with my audio interface, oh, I know what the problem is, because I'm on safe mode. It's going to do it again. So I have the Scarlett 2x2, 4th edition, and I have it on safe mode so that my audio doesn't clip too much. So it artificially caps you sometimes. And when you're doing a live stream, it could be helpful because, you know, the tone of your voice is constantly changing, right? Whereas if I'm filming a regular video, I don't need that safe feature on because I can correct that in post. But here, there's nothing that I can correct, you know? Have you ever played Skyrim? Of course, man. I bought Skyrim when it came out in 2011. I actually bought it on Boxing Day. So, yeah, I played the hell out of it on the PS3 and then rebought it on the PC, and I played both versions, the regular and then the special edition. And then I ended up re-downloading the one that came after, the anniversary, but I didn't really mess with it that much. I put hundreds of hours into it, beat all the major quests, all the major side quests. If there's something that I missed, I wouldn't be able to tell you what that is because I've basically done it all. You know, basically maxed out my character, visited every little spot on the map. Like, even with the mods, bro, you know, doing all like the extra quests and whatever, I can't think of anything else I have to do on that game. So that's why I'm pretty done with it. I think I stopped playing Skyrim in 2018. I had a good run with it. Oh, and once I beat Skyrim, I ended up playing Oblivion, and I did the same thing with that. The only one I haven't done is Morrowind, believe it or not. If I do play it, I want it to be hella modded. I also tried Daggerfall, but it wasn't my kind of game. And that too, I modified the hell out of it. I was all excited, but very different kind of RPG. Yeah. Okay. What is the minimum amount of rotations you recommend for bench on the conjugate system to prevent plateaus? So I'll be honest, Ibrahim, I don't count the number of variations, but if I were, it would probably be at least 15. Like, I'm going to tell you what they are in my case, and I'm going to just say this very fast. I'm not going to explain the benefits, but just to give you an idea. So for me to bench 405, that's going to include the regular Larson press, Swiss bar Larson press, Larson with 30 chain, 60 chain, 90 chain. The same thing with the Swiss. So 1, 2, 3 again. Floor press with 30 chain, floor press with 60 chain, right 11, 90 chain makes 12. That's already a lot of variations, right? 13 could be dead bench, 14 incline bench, 15 incline bench with 30 chain, 16 60 chain, 17 90 chain. And then we can go back to flat. We can do doubled micro mini bands and then double micros. So already at 19 variations just off that. We can throw in weighted dip. That makes 20. Then 30, 60, 90. That makes 23. And then we can do plates with bands, which makes 24. Oh, and don't forget the floor press with the Swiss bar, 25, plus the 30, 60, 90 again. We can also throw on doubled micros and double minis. We're at 30 variations. So, as you can see, it's the main way it's going to be. Oh, and don't forget about the close grip benching as well. You can include all those variations I just listed. So, when you have specialty bars, as well as accommodating resistance, it gives you so much more variety. And actually, if you watch my compilation video that I did on the bench, you're going to see most of those variations because I basically went through all of them in, I believe, an 8-month period. I stopped my cut in May, and then I started rebuilding from there. So there you have it. But yeah, I would say even 15 variations is fine. Like, you don't have to go all the way up to 30, but 15 rotations, it's going to last you. Like, you want at least a 12-week training cycle. So we could even argue less, like 12 weeks. Like 12 rotations is enough. Was your dad bald? Nope. My dad still has a full head of hair. Like, he's a Norwood 1. The only thing he does have is a big bald spot on the back of his head because he fell off a motorcycle, and that created some permanent damage there. I get the baldness from my mother's side because my grandfather was bald and my uncle is also bald. And they also started at a young age. I started losing my hair at 19 years old. And the reason how I figured that out, first of all, I always used to buzz my head. And even before I started balding, I used to freaking shave it. So I would shave it once in a blue moon, and then I would let it grow back up to like a dark, like, I don't know, a number 2 or something. Almost like a Forrest Gump haircut. And then I would buzz it off again, shave it, and I would do that every once in a while, you know? So what I noticed is at 19, I had joined like this introduction to film class. And it was like a giant projector, and I had to do this project. And I'm looking at this video, and I see that like my hairline's a bit recessed in it, you know? It wasn't straight across anymore. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, what the hell? I'm only 19. And then I started looking up, like, is it normal for this to happen? And what guys were saying online is, yeah, it's a mature hairline. And then they show a picture of that guy. You know, remember Don Draper from Mad Men? They're like, look, that's what you have. I'm like, that makes sense. But I remember being in the library, because I would be in there for like 3 hours. You know, I had these long breaks in between classes. And there'd be fucking hair falling out. Like little strands. I have very straight hair. So when I would be done my studying, I'd have to wipe off the hair. I'd go like this. So that literally started when I was 19 years old. And it only got worse and worse over the years. And then with the back, okay, I had, like my hair grows out in like a rose, you know? So when the hair would be long, you wouldn't see that I was thinning out there too. But when it was short, you would see a little bit of a bald spot. And I really, like, it confirmed it 100% when I grew out my hair long in 2018. You know, some guys think my hair was full back then, but it wasn't. It's because I had a split in the middle, and I was able to part the hair to the sides. But the balding started very young, you know? And I think when I started taking minoxidil for my beard, it actually made my head hair thicker for in 2017. If you notice, that's when my head hair looked the thickest at the beginning of my YouTube channel and in 2017. I'm pretty sure that's because the minoxidil was absorbed in my system. It made my hair thicker on top. But once I got off that, it went back to the original hairline, which was like a Norwood 2. And then every year it just got a little bit worse, you know? And then I started shaving it like for good in 2020. It was actually the lockdown that prompted it, you know? And yeah, I've been rocking this look ever since. But sometimes I'll grow out the hair a bit. And I could still do it, mind you. Some guys think that I'm a Norwood 7, but I'm not. You could see where my hairline starts. You know, it starts right here. I'm a Norwood 3. So I got the recessed temples here. But you can still see there's a lot of, like, you see where the hair is? It's literally a Norwood 3. It starts here. It's just that I got these spots on the side. But I can grow it out. It's just that I'm going to look like that guy, Jude Law, you know? So I don't think it's particularly the best look. But I could still do it if I want. And no, I did not try finasteride. Minoxidil was a pain in the ass, so I stopped using that. And yeah. I've accepted it. It's all good. Oh, and by the way, I was offered a free hair transplant in Turkey, and I said no. And this is the same clinic that some very popular fitness influencers have used. If you know, you know. Those guys hit me up because I'm a freaking good candidate, right? I didn't want it. The only thing I might consider is like SMP in a couple of years, you know? Still play OSRS. I haven't logged in a while. Sometimes I go on the regular RS just to run my rolls to get my XP lamps, but that's about it. I don't have time for gaming, man. And certainly this year, that's going to be limited. Although, I know I told you guys I was going to hustle. The one exception I will make is for the new, Tales of Grace's F. It's one of the few Tales games I haven't played. There's also been Tales of Rebirth, which I've been waiting 20 years for that freaking game to be translated. There's finally a fan version. And then Tales of Destiny, Director's Cut. I'm like halfway done that. So I have like 3 Tales games to finish. And that's one of my favorite series. So that's where I will make an exception. But content for you guys comes first. Do you live in Toronto? No, I live in Quebec. So it's a French-speaking province. Why did you reject a free hair transplant? Well, because I'm still going to lose the rest of my hair. I don't know when it's going to happen, but eventually I will have nothing on top, right? So if I restore my hairline and the back starts going, well, first of all, you're supposed to take finasteride. So not only are you getting a hair transplant, but now you've subscribed to a lifetime amount of finasteride. You got to take this for the rest of your life so that you don't lose the hair behind. And I didn't want to be on that shit. Now, I know some of the side effects are considered overblown and extremely rare, but to me, if there's a 1% chance of, epigenetic changes happening, I'm not willing to take that chance. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to mess with my hormones. And let me tell you guys, I got big balls. They're huge. I'm not playing with that shit. And I want to have kids. And I'm very happy with my downstairs. Plus, I have a great head shape. I rock it. My girlfriend loves it. It's going to be 6 years I'm with her. And out of all the looks I've done, this is her favorite. So I don't think I need to get a hair transplant. Bald is beautiful. Oh, hell nah. Balls revealed at 500k subs. Let's go. Yo, I don't know how big balls are supposed to be, but mine are I don't know. They're really big. It's actually been a problem when I get underwear, because it's always too tight around the nuts. Same thing with jeans and all that. But that's where Barbell Apparel came to save the day with that. A bit of a lower cut. You got some stretch in there, But I remember even as a kid, I had a hard time with that. You might want to get that checked. Naturally high T, who knows? Never had a test for that either, by the way. Struggling from success, man. Oh, man. This guy's going to clip it. Well, it's the God honest truth. I'm not going to lay out my balls on the table, but it is true. Front squat ripped all my jeans. Yeah, that sucks. But it's a sign that your legs got bigger, so that's cool. Get Barbell Apparel, man. Link in description. You'll be able to work out in your jeans. Your last video on the trap bar deadlift is 3 years ago. What do you think of it now? Is it similar to below the knee rack pull using high handles? Or should I use bands or chains to emphasize the top? Okay, I'll tell you what, Delon. Most of those points still apply. But there's one thing that might shock all you guys. Is that I actually think Mark Ripito was somewhat right. That sagittal plane instability is not really a good thing on the trap bar deadlift. What I'm saying is, if you pull from that same height using blocks, it feels a lot more hingy than a high-handled trap bar deadlift, and that's probably safer on your lower back. I started noticing this last year during the end of my, closing in on the shred. I was doing more high-handled trap bar deadlifts, and I could feel that my lower back didn't like it, even though I was doing a lot of good mornings and even below the knee rack pulls at the time. And it's because of that sagittal plane instability that you can shift some of that load onto the quads, and there's some movement where the bar can go through you. Now, that could be somewhat corrected if you use pristine technique and if you don't necessarily overload. But if you go like, if you lift what I was lifting in the 600s or doing at least 700, that shifting, that front to back can actually be more dangerous for your lower back, even if it's the same range of motion. They're not equal in terms of hinges. So I think I would change my position in this day and age that low block pulls or below the knee rack pulls with straps are safer on your lower back than high handle trap bar deadlifts. Or doing a behind the back block pull. Because at least now, the bar will not be able to go through you. So I think the trap bar does have a little bit of extra risk. But I still think it's safer than a conventional deadlift with the high handles. With the low handles, I don't know. They might be about the same. But yeah, I know a lot of guys made fun of Mark Ripito for his video on the trap bar, but he did raise some good points that should be considered. And instability is not a good thing necessarily. Thank you so much, Alex. How many hours do you sleep daily? I usually get my 8 hours. Minimum. But when I'm training hard, sometimes it could be up to 9 or even 10. You know? Hey, thank you so much, Alex. See you around, brother. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you can get Jude on for a conversation. That would be an interesting conversation. For sure. Do you consider your beard thick now after minoxidil? I would say it's pretty thick. You know? Got my comb right here. It's getting there. You know? The only thing with my beard is that it doesn't grow low. It starts right above the Adam's apple. You know, some guys, they have hair going right down to the bottom of their neck, you know? Which means that when I grow out my beard more, it might start to look a little bit stringy, like see-through. And if that does happen, I will probably get rid of it. Why is Alex lying about having a girlfriend? John, why would I lie about that? It's going to be 6 years soon. Our anniversary is April 14. Started dating her in 2019. It's the same girl. If you're unhappy about your life and your relationship status, then I don't know what to tell you. Is it really that surprising? Have you ever tried zombie squats? Nope. I've only done front squats, Zercher squats, and reverse SSB squats to get that thoracic effect. And I don't really see much need to do them, including like I don't even do front squats anymore because I'd rather just do a reverse SSB squat. I get the exact same benefits, you know. I don't like the clean grip. It feels a bit weird, and the cross arm grip. I don't like that it's like one arm higher than the other. Oh, 1 second. I'm just gonna change that. I got an extra battery right here. It's because we've been going for a long time. All right. We're back to life. We good. You see me now? Opinion on the super squat program. I tell you, Marcus, everyone should run a variation of it. And I actually did that recently on the SSB squat. The only reason why I stopped doing it is because I was peaking on my bench. So funny enough, it's basically 20 rep breathing squats where you're trying to turn your 10 rep max into your 20 rep max. But the way to run it, okay, is by using a weight that is much lighter than your grit starting point. So let's say you can do 275 for 10. Okay, let's say you could do 225 for 10 on the barbell squat. You don't want to just go straight into 2 plates and hit that for 20 on day 1, because now your room for progression is going to be very limited, and the adaptations didn't really take place where you can actually handle that fire in your lungs. So the best thing to do is to start with 185, and you only increase weight by 5 pounds a session. That's it. Because even if you could do 225 on day 1, it's irrelevant. The point is to build up to it so that now you're not dying, and then you go beyond. So just to say, you guys have seen me squat 507, and I've done 455 on the safety bar squat. This year, like not even a month ago, or 2 months ago, whatever, I'd started doing breathing squats, and I opened with 2 plates, which is 230 on the SSB. And I literally just added 5 pounds a session, even though like it was kind of easy there, all the way up to 285. And then the bench press peaking was on the way, and I decided to just stop it. But had I continued, I'd be doing 3 plates for 20 on the SSB, which is very difficult. And then I would have gone even higher. So I might even do that again, try to get like 365 for 20, or at least 335 for 20, but 315 would have been a wrap for sure. I was probably a couple workouts away if I want to be aggressive with the jumps. No, it does not work on the bench press. Salatzar. Because the squat is one of those unique lifts where you can recover at the top. Like you feel the weight crushing you, but somehow your legs, it's like you can keep banging out rep after rep. Now, the secret is you want the first 5 reps, you could do like 1 deep breath, okay? And then from there, you start doing 2 breaths. So from 5 to 10, you do 2 breaths. And then from 10 to 20, you could do like 3 or 4 breaths. The max I've done, I think, was 3 breaths. But when you start pushing the weight to the extreme, by the time you hit rep number 10, you're taking 5 breaths between reps. So for me, the sets would average about 2 minutes. I think the most, it was 2 minutes and 5 seconds. But when you're reaching like the peak of the super squat cycle, it could be like a 3-minute set. And the proof of that is just look at Eric Bugenhagen when he did it. He did the 20 rep breathing squats with a gallon of milk a day and doing it every day, which is psychotic as hell. So, does it work? Absolutely. And everybody should try it out because it'll make a man out of you. You're going to feel like fire in your lungs. It's very uncomfortable, but I'll tell you this, okay? I've seen videos saying this is the hardest form of training imaginable. I would have to disagree. I would say burpees are more difficult. If you do a 300 burpee workout, that is a lot harder than 20 rep breathing squats. I'm just saying. I've done both. 20 rep squats are hard as hell. They really are. You feel that burning. It's unbelievable. It's like you just did a sprint or something. But it's not as hard as burpees. I'm telling you. But yeah, you should do it for your work capacity and to make your life efficient because it's basically 1 rest pause set. Yeah, it basically is myo reps. And you just do 1 set, eh? So what I would do is 1 set of breathing squats and then 1 to 2 sets of good mornings. And that was it for legs. Of course, you could hit accessories if you want, like leg curls, but you don't really need much after that point. Now, you can either do this every 5 days, every 72 hours, or if you're a nut job, every 48. But I think it's a bit much. For me, I was doing it every 5 days. So I would do my push workout, and then I would do the breathing squats and the good mornings with my back and biceps. So 5 days for each. And that's it. Works well. Hey Alex, do you still do coaching? Yes, but I am selective with my clients. Like I'll give you a questionnaire that you got to fill out so I can see where you're at. And when I start working with you, you know, I got to make sure that you got that hardcore energy. Because I'm going to push you. Uncle Alex, your question got buried. Sorry. Happy New Year, Alex. You're the man. My man, Jayson Casper. You do this every time. Oh, my God. Happy New Year to you, too. Thank you always for your massive donations. It really means a lot. This allows me to keep reinvesting back into the channel. And I have a lot more responsibilities now. And you continuing to give me these crazy donations shows that you trust my word. You know that I'm going to produce what I said I was going to do. And, man, like, you're the man. At this point, sheesh. Thank you always, brother. I'm going to keep doing my best. You're going to see what's going to happen in 2025. The crypto guy. Yeah, I'll tell you what, crypto, you have to buy in the bear market, eh? Just saying. I won't say more than that. What is your opinion on sandbag lifting? I actually made a video on it. It wasn't really popular at the time. I think it's more of a strongman thing. I used a duffel bag, a military duffel bag, filled it up with sand and clothes. And I believe it weighed 70 pounds or 100 pounds at the most. Really good if you're going to do a lot of reverse lunges or bear hug walks as a replacement for farmer walks. So when I was living at the apartment, I would just walk back and forth, clasping it real good, you know, with like a gable grip. And that was good for conditioning. That's basically all I did. That and reverse lunges with the jumps. That's about all the expertise I can give you with a sandbag. Maybe you could use it for deep good mornings as well, like ass to grass. I know the Bronze Era lifters are really big on that. You ever going to get into running again? I actually did last year when I was shredded. I was doing cardio twice a day. And at the very, very end, I remember going to the gym. Like this was a couple days before I did my final flexing footage. And I ran for an hour straight, no break. And the machine, I think it was on 7.5 for the first like half an hour or 45 minutes. And then I jumped it up to 9 for the remainder. That might have been the most fit I ever was in my life. This was in like early May. Like probably more fit than when I used to compete way back in the day. So yeah, running is where it's at. It really, it's great. But right now I'm just doing burpees, you know. In the summertime I'll do more of it, but right now don't really care. I don't want to run on a treadmill, and I don't want to run outside in the cold. I can't run on the treadmill without getting bored. I like running outside. Outside is the best. Absolutely. I feel, yeah, it's better on the joints too, in my experience. When you go on a nice trail. Jayson Casper again. Are you still 100% plant-based? Thank you. And yes, it's officially 1 year vegan. I started January 1st of 2024. And I managed to stick to it. And actually, that's something I wanted to... Well, I kind of mentioned this earlier in the stream, but for me, going all out is easier than leaving a little bit of leeway. My brain doesn't work like that. So like in the past, I would do 80% or 90% plant-based. And inevitably, when you're given the chance to consume animal products, you just end up overdoing it. You binge. or you treat it like this big reward for a holiday or a restaurant or whatever. And I found that now, since I don't have the option, it's just a straight up no, I'm not going to eat that. Like, bro, I was a meat guy, you know? I really loved it back in the day. But now I swear to you, I swear on my life, I don't crave it at all. You could have a guy eating a steak right next to me and he's literally grabbing and he's shoving it in my face and it doesn't do anything for me because it hasn't been in my system for a year. Any gut bacteria that I had with it is gone. I completely killed it off. And you can't tempt me. You can't make me eat it. I don't want it. Ethically, I don't think it's the best thing to be eating. And health-wise, I know that if I do attempt to eat that, my gut is like so used to eating all these plants that I'm probably not going to feel well. I'm probably going to get sick if I eat that. I'd probably have to like microload my way back up to consuming animal products. So I'm actually terrified of even eating a small amount because I don't think it's going to go well. So by going 100% all the way, there's no cravings for anything. And I can honestly say that. Cole Warren, getting chickens has helped me be more meat-free, more love for the animals I used to eat, and now I have eggs as an alternative to meat. You're raising them yourself. You know, it's like guys get pissed off when you mention dogs. Like, would you eat dog meat? They're like, oh, it's my pet. You know? But then with chickens, it's different. It's really a form of speciesism. Or with pigs, for example, even though they're smarter than dogs. I think most guys just aren't aware of what goes on behind the scenes. Because if they did, I don't think they would support that. And they can talk all day that they go to local farms or whatever, but nobody's really doing that. Most of these people they wouldn't. Because it's more expensive and whatever. So they're like, oh, it's sad and whatever, but their actions contradict what they believe is right. And ultimately, your actions are more important. You know? So, yeah, I'm not going to talk too much about this because honestly, guys don't want to hear it. The vegan thing is like, it appeals to a small minority of people. And I think if I start talking about it, it's just going to turn a bunch of people off. You know, as much as people say, oh, look, we want to see your full day of eating. You think you want to see my full day of eating. You think. You're not willing to give it up. I was. You're going to see what I eat. You're going to be like, what the fuck? This guy's eating tofu, beans, soup, berries. How is he this jacked? How is he this strong eating like this? I thought you had to eat all this meat. It'll be a wake-up call in a way. But at the same time, it'll be like, fuck, I actually don't need to eat this. And because you like it so much, that's going to be hard. And then you'll start to come up with excuses. Well, you know, this guy's an outlier or whatever. Or you'll make up there's always some nitpick. But at this point, y'all can't say shit. You saw me get shredded, have more muscle mass than the last time I did this. And you saw me hit a 405 bench at 181 with a pause, 100% vegan. All the best PRs of 2024, 100% vegan. So there's nothing they can say about my physique. Nothing. You ain't got shit on me. So what they'll do is come up with some excuse or whatever. So yeah. Oh, and regarding the health thing, I finally got the perfect blood pressure without having to be shredded. So that's pretty awesome as well. Oh, but it's just an anecdote, right? The anecdote that lines up with all the evidence. See, this guy mentioned Vince Gironda. Vince Gironda died at 78. Is that an example of longevity to you? You just proved my point, bro. 78 is not old. That's the average lifespan. You mean to tell me that Vince, who was natural, who had like an aesthetic physique with ripped abs and whatever, The Iron Guru, a man who dedicated his life to fitness, dies at 78. Natty to top it off? Well, clearly his diet wasn't working. What would you say are the benefits of veganism? Also, I raise my own chickens and eat them. If anyone does eat meat, they need to process their own. At least once understand the price of your food. That I would agree. If you're not willing to, like, if you can't hunt, or if you're not willing eating multiple animals, like if you're a speciesist, then you're a hypocrite. At least you're congruent with your beliefs and you have no problem raising and killing your own chickens. I can guarantee you most guys wouldn't want to do that. And they're the ones who are most adamant about being meat lovers. They're like, oh yeah, me, I love my meat. You know, they brag about that shit. Like it somehow makes them, I don't know, tougher or whatever. But they would never be able to raise their own animals and slaughter them or whatever. It's basically, it's like hiring a hitman. So if you're totally cool with that, if you've seen all the arguments for veganism about sentience and all that, and you refuse to support factory farming, you raise your own, whatever, and you're totally cool with killing these sentient beings and it's on you, you don't give a fuck, and you've heard all the arguments supporting veganism, then there's nothing I could say to you. That's on you. But at least you're not a hypocrite. But the problem is, a lot of guys are not in that camp, you know? And they're completely unaware of what actually goes on behind the scenes. You strike me as the kind of guy who is aware. So that's your prerogative. But what would I say are the benefits of veganism? The obvious ones. It's probably the best, when supplemented correctly, it's probably the best diet for longevity. It's probably the best diet for the planet. Although some people reject that. I think that's the worst argument to support veganism. What I would say is health, number one, absolutely. But then the second benefit is that it's just better for the animals. We're talking about sentient beings here who have a consciousness, who love, who experience all these emotions that we do. They're very similar to us. And we kill them on a mass scale when it's completely unnecessary. It's non-needed for bodybuilding, for longevity, any of that stuff. It is a personal choice. And people just do it for taste, for short-term pleasure. And they're like, oh, I would never eat a dog, but I'm going to eat a pig and all these other animals, you know? Or they wouldn't hunt it themselves, you know? So it's like, if you actually look at factory farming and what it entails, like pigs being gassed to death, the cows being artificially inseminated, having some guy, you know, stick bull semen up their ass, and then having their babies taken away from them immediately because they're sold off as veal. Chickens being blended alive because the males are useless to the industry. The chickens being bred to lay over 300 eggs a year when they're supposed to do a fraction of that. You know, that they're in tightly pressed cages, just nibbling on each other. They're not moving, you know. The disease, those living conditions are horrific. And for what? A little bit of short-term pleasure because they taste good. So, and the fact is, it's intentional. And regarding, you know, farming, naturally killing off some of these animals, well, most of these crops are fed to these animals living in factory farm conditions. So you're just doubling the problems here. You're not addressing the root cause. So yeah, there's always going to be some killing involved. The point of veganism is to reduce the amount of suffering and death. And you can't argue that factory farming is a good thing. I don't think anybody likes it. Most crops are fed to livestock, exactly. I think if you guys looked into factory farming, you'd be absolutely disgusted by it and you would not want to support it. Yet, you still will. But I promise that Like the majority of you who look into it, you will not approve, but you're still going to buy it. I'm just saying. But, yeah, you do you. I'm not going to try to convince you to go vegan, but I do think it is ideal. What nutrients do you have to worry about on a vegan diet? Do you supplement any? Vitamin B12 is a must. Like, you can't not take that. You should take D3 as well. And maybe an algae-based omega-3 supplement, because the conversion might not be the best if you're just consuming walnuts and flax seeds. So if you have all those three, maybe a zinc supplement. Iodine, if you're not using iodized salt. Vitamin E supplementation, I probably wouldn't do because the data on it doesn't look that good. But that's why, like, if you follow a whole food approach where you're consuming various nuts and seeds, like, you should be getting your zinc pretty easily. And vitamin E, actually, you will get that from olive oil, no problem. Where it becomes difficult is if you're going SOS free. If you do no salt, you're not going to get your iodine, most likely. Because also the nori sheets that everyone loves to eat are often full of sodium. So that's kind of a problem, right? So you can also take like Lugol's iodine solution if you want. And if you do oil free, it's harder to get your vitamin E. But all the other stuff is very easy to get. And zinc, if you get your pumpkin seeds in, you're pretty much covered with that, you know? Yeah, the B12, a lot of guys are deficient in it, including meat eaters. Like, if you're only eating chicken, you might have a problem with B12. HNC, the complete opposite of what you think. How about negative numbers? You're quick to judge me because I follow an evidence-based diet. But you'll go follow some exercise scientists talking about all the latest research, and that's somehow the best. But when it comes to nutrition, all that doesn't matter anymore. See, I got your respect now. Thank you. I don't lean in a certain direction. I follow an evidence-based diet, and I'm able to recognize the ethical implications of slaughtering sentient beings on a mass scale. Nothing wrong with that. And I ain't forcing this shit down my throat. Down your guys' throats. I'm the one who's getting questions on it, you know? You do what you want. My dad hunts. He's not gonna change his ways. Lost 40 views by talking about veganism. Lol. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Guys think they want to hear about it until they start hearing the shit, and then they're like, "Oh no," you know, they get triggered as hell. You can't argue with these people. That's why I don't even bother to. I learned that a long time ago. Not just with nutrition, but with a lot of stuff. Do you have a skincare routine? Not really fitness, but I want to know. I just use Marcel's face wash when I'm in the shower. And then I apply the Marcel moisturizer immediately after. That's it. I do that at least once a day. Maybe at nighttime, if I do 2 showers, I'll apply the retinol cream, which is also by Marcel. And that's literally all I do. The rest, the skin comes from just being healthy. Aquaterra. Do you think the ethical argument is more important than the health aspect for you? No. For me, the health aspect is the number one reason for going vegan. Second is ethics. Third is environment. I think that's the weakest argument by far. And I think, like, for me, like, if there was compelling data to suggest that veganism was not the optimal human diet, like if it was appropriately supplemented and whatever, For me, it would be a harder pill to swallow. It would be a significantly harder pill to swallow. Like, I don't know. It has to be health first. But the ethics thing is very important. I think, as you said before, you're center-right politically. Are you surprised that so few left-wing people are vegan, given how much it should align to their ideology? Yeah, that's an interesting contradiction, eh? I think people who are vegans, they usually start off on the left. But it's funny how those who are already left and they rave about all these big modern issues are not considering another form of victim. You know? Like, you know the kinds, right? The stereotypicals. Yeah, they should be vegan, considering what they stand for. Yeah, it's a massive contradiction. Absolutely. Do you shave your arms and hands? Right now, no. But when I'm shredded, I do, because it shows off all the definition. You actually have veins that start to pop out in your hands and your forearms especially. Like, you don't want to be hiding that with a bunch of hair. But I think if you're not shredded, it's kind of dumb to do that. Like, you can leave some... Actually, you know what's funny? Franco Columbo, when he competed in the Mr. Olympia, he had hairy freaking forearms. Crazy how that's changed, eh? I don't want to hear the caveman argument. What should I sub in for dumbbell rollbacks for higher reps if I'm a real one? I would probably say the JM press, because the JM press, you're actually bringing the bar back slightly, depending how you do it. The dumbbell rollback, like, you really feel the... If you do it the way Louis Simmons prescribes it, like on the floor or on a flat bench where you're not like... Because the thing is, if you bring the arms way back behind the body and then you extend from that position, that's going to be a lot of long head. But the way that Louis would prescribe it is like this, you know? So you're getting the arms back very slightly, but then boom. So he believed it was a medial head builder, which I don't think you can bias the medial head, but you'd certainly feel it in that area. Like, that sensation is similar to what you would feel when you do a JM press. You know, alternatively, you could do the same thing with cables. You can lie down on a flat bench, then have dual cables into the rollbacks like that. Because I'm assuming the reason why you don't want to do them is because it's hurting your elbows. So there is a bit of a... Like, I noticed that when I get to 60 pounds on the dumbbell rollback, or in general, any dumbbell extension, it doesn't feel the best. Anything less than 60 feels good. But 60 and above is like, eh. And that's because there's a bit of lateral forces going through the elbow when you do a dumbbell rollback. So, maybe cables are your answer. I don't think Big Lenny had some great arguments considering what happened to him. Rest in peace, though. Uncle Alex, I have long arms, harder to grow. Look at basement bodybuilding. He has a 6'4" wingspan, and he got his arms up to 18 inches, and they used to be the same size as mine. Yeah, it's harder for your arms to look bigger initially, but in the long term, you're going to absolutely mog guys like me. Like, my arms are kind of plateauing now in the 17-inch zone. I'm having a hard time going above this, and it's probably because I got a 5'8" wingspan. There's limited real estate there. Yeah, it looks big, but a guy like you can probably get 18, 19. So who cares? It's going to take longer, but once you get to the end destination, it'll be so much better than a guy like me. Yo, what's up, Seth? Yes, it's still in the works. It's going to come out. That'll be the first program that is released within the upcoming 4 months. And I got one more from you. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, what happened here? pop out. Oh, what? Sorry. Oh, thanks for the response regarding veganism. Factory farming is evil 100%. I raise own food and buy all red local. I've always wondered if you subscribe to any sort of spiritual philosophy or religion. Thank you again, and thank you for not being a hypocrite. I think that goes a long way. You're very self-aware when it comes to this. In regards to spiritual philosophies or religion, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I remain confused with that because a lot of it is based off old times where people didn't have a scientific understanding of the world. So that kind of makes me skeptical of certain things. I think I agree with the values, but I would consider myself more so agnostic, you know? But in terms of like certain philosophies to live by, I would say Stoicism is probably the one that I relate to the most. Just not focusing on things that you can't control and just being this disciplined badass who just gets shit done. Forget about how you feel. Forget about, the after effects. I don't know, man. I'm probably not the right guy to be asking these kinds of questions to. I think natural hypertrophy is a better resource. I have a hard time articulating it because I've never made videos on this kind of content. It's something that I'd have to probably script out, take a long time writing about it. So, sorry about that. I don't know. I would say the vegan thing is probably the closest thing I have to, being congruent with my morals, of being a good person and all that. And then I just do what I got to do, making these videos, constantly shooting for higher goals. I try to be a good person. Thoughts on Orc Mode training? If you're talking about the Orc Mode training that a certain someone used to use back in the day, it was actually quite solid. And I think some of that inspiration came from my videos because my methods were criticized back in 2017, 2018. But then once those methods were proven to be effective, shortly after, Orc Mode came out, kind of like a spin on Bear Mode. So I think I deserve a little bit of credit. Anyway, the Conjugate system is not my system. It's been around since the Soviet era, the Dynamo Club, and there's a lot of elite lifters who have used it throughout the years. So anyone who's promoting it, obviously it's going to work, regardless of who it is, regardless of how you feel about the person. And I feel like the person you're referring to made the best gains of his life in that time frame, where he was doing all the accommodating resistance, the specialty bars, rotating variations, the max effort method. I'm just saying. And that there's always someone stealing off people's shit, lol. Nothing is new, my friend. What do you think about the concept of the long head not being biased during overhead movements? It's a confusing situation, isn't it? Because biomechanically, if you're looking at having the arm stretched out like this, because the long head crosses the shoulder joint, it should involve it more. You should at least stretch it more. And it would make sense why you're biasing it. But then you hear all this talk about leverages and how the triceps don't necessarily benefit from stretch medial hypertrophy. That a more ascending resistance profile is better. And therefore, even if you are getting a better stretch, it doesn't matter. And that if you do report more growth and it's just swelling of the long head, that's one argument you can make. But at the same time, it's like, how else are you supposed to really bias it? The argument would be, well, the shoulder extension component would do it. So if you do like a one arm push down or a dual row push down or a dual cable push down, where the arm can go way back behind the body, That's also involving the shoulder, right? So you're still hitting the long head, but through squeezing it. And because the triceps benefit more from an ascending resistance profile or through the squeeze in general, then that should technically be best for long head as opposed to having your arm stretched out like this. That would be the counter argument, you know? And to that, I have no fucking idea who's right anymore, man. I'm confused. I'm confused myself. Do I listen to Dr. Milo Wolf? Do I listen to Kasim Hansen? Or do I listen to these other people you're talking about? I don't know. Then we got guys like GVS, who has the freakiest long head I've ever seen, and he lives on overhead work. So I would say, honestly, like, I'm just going to roll with GVS. I'm just going to trust his anecdote, because what he does on the overhead extension, I can't even do. So that's probably where I'll put my money on, you know, which would mean that the evidence-based crowd is, the mainstream evidence-based crowd is probably right. But maybe, I don't know. Is it possible that the triceps benefit more from the shortened position and ascending resistance profile? Maybe. I definitely see that being true when it comes to compound movements. Like if you're doing a close grip bench with chains, that's freaking awesome. If you're doing a dip with bands or chains, oh my God. That's the best way of making it more focused there, you know? But the idea that a dual rope push down is better than overhead extension for the long head, I don't know. I have no idea. Thoughts on saturated fat? I think it should be avoided, including if you follow a plant-based diet. Don't be consuming a bunch of coconut. And when you're going to buy, if you have like processed foods, get the one, like for example, the vegan cheeses, get the ones that are potato starch based. They actually taste better. It's more cheese-like, especially if you're going to make a lasagna. And it's not going to be riddled with saturated fat. So I think you should keep that as low as possible. Max 12 grams a day. And if you follow a regular diet, just avoid fatty cuts of meat. If you're so concerned about the fat intake affecting your hormones, then get it through healthier sources like nuts and seeds. Bruh, they replicated the real cheeses so accurately that they even added the saturated fats. Some of them do. But if you look at the award-winning cheeses, they usually don't add it, funny enough. The reason why they include it is because it makes it harder. It's less mushy, like a brie cheese, you know? Do you have a plan powerlifting be in the future? No. I really don't care about powerlifting. Maybe I would compete in bodybuilding again. Or I would do like a street lifting competition. I would do street lifting today. The only problem is there's no federations where I'm from. I'd have to drive like 6 hours away to go compete in the United States, and I don't even know if they would accept me being a Canadian citizen. I have no clue. Omni-Man seemed to gain size and strength in a lot shorter time than our boy here. I would say the strength about the same. And I don't think he would disagree with that. But the size, yeah, he definitely grew more than me. He's looking pretty freaking massive, actually. Like his arms and delts, he just looks thicker overall. Like when I met him, compared to what I see in the videos now, there's a massive difference. Like I'm pretty sure Paris is bigger than me. But I still bench more. He's done 315 for 8. I've done it for 10. All respect though. Paris is my boy. You know? And I'm sure you can get it up if you started maxing out on a weekly basis. Probably wouldn't take more than a month. So he's super strong at everything. Do you think full body twice a week is enough for cutting? I do. Yeah. Because when you're cutting, your recovery is compromised. So if you can follow a split where you have 5 days to just chill and you're not losing your work capacity, and you just get in those effective sets and get out, like that is going to be great for preserving muscle. I think like low volume full body is one of the secrets to preserving muscle on a cut. In my experience, whatever reason, most of the powerlifters I've met in real life have been socially awkward and weird. I want no part of that. Plus, the whole cliquey aspect behind it doesn't resonate with me. Hey, some people really get off to that. The whole community aspect of going to a powerlifting gym and, oh, I'm a powerlifter. Like, they make that their world, you know? But others kind of get turned off from it. Like my sister, she competed in powerlifting early on, and like she realized it wasn't her vibe, even though she had the genetics for it. Like she was very strong. And even myself, I did 2 bench only meets, and I could tell like these are not my people. And by the way, I felt the same way when I went to Ohio, and I'm seeing all these bodybuilders walking around and all these supplement booths and whatever. Like, I don't get off to that. My favorite part of being there was interacting with you guys in real life. You come up to me, you talk about how my information helped you out, or you ask me questions, or I ask you questions, and we just vibe it out, talk about our passion, which is fitness, right? Or like when I'd be with Paris or the Bells of Steel crew, like just being with guys who I've connected with online. That's what I love. I love the community aspect of this, but seeing these roided up bodybuilders or going to a powerlifting meet and guys are getting all hyped up for the big 3, it doesn't do anything for me. And even bodybuilding, like natural bodybuilding didn't give me the click either. Like it's cool, but I don't like the fucking posing stuff. I don't like the tanning. I know that's the whole point of it, to display your physique in the best way possible. But for me, what I like is the process of building muscle. Just being jacked, being generally strong. Not that you have to step on stage in these tight thong looking things, looking like an Oompa Loompa, and doing like this, you know, this choreographed routine. You're trying to like, you're on the floor, all emotional, you know. Man, I really don't like that, whether natty or enhanced. So I just like getting bigger and stronger, you know. And whenever it has anything to do with enhanced stuff, like it just turns me off completely. Like there's no connection. You probably would vibe with John Hack. Probably. He seems like a down-to-earth kind of guy. And he paid his dues the natural way. Everybody thought he was enhanced until he actually jumped on. So I've never been as strong as his best natty numbers. You know? Seeing someone roided to the gills is so weird and freaky. The veins in the skin, milky, full of pimples. It looks sick. Like seeing something that you shouldn't be seeing. Yeah, I would agree. They always have like this leathery skin, and it's red. They all, I don't know, they look terrible, and they age fast. Like guys in their 20s look like they're in their late 30s. But the biggest thing is the redness. They always look like a freaking tomato. No matter what they do. Yo, my man Vegeta, fitness channel. You guys should check it out for some gems. If you know, you know. Will I try to push my arms to 18 inches? Man, I don't know if it's in the cards for me. Like if I do, I'll have to continue being bulked up. And it might take me another, I don't know, 5 to 10 years. I think for me to gain an inch at this point, or like 0.75, because the biggest my arms have been is 17 and a quarter, right? So to get that final measurement up, I'd probably, 1, have to weigh 200 pounds, and 2, just focus on arm specialization for at least 5 years. But it might just take a decade. It might take me 10 years to put on an inch on my arms. 1, I don't have good arm genetics, and 2, it's hard to do. Like I'm pretty tapped out, man. Like I'm 5'5" with 17s, cold. We're not talking pumped here. So for me, I've already hit a 405 bench, you know. I've gotten strong in my extensions. I suppose the one area where I could improve on is the biceps. So maybe the bicep is what's going to get my arm over the top. But in terms of the triceps, like, they're pretty freaking strong at this point on isolations and compounds. So I don't think that's the problem. I think my triceps are pretty good. Maybe my long had a bit more work, but I don't know. I think it's going to take a long time. Freaking throat. It's been so... These weather changes. Come on, Alex. It wouldn't take 10 years. You'd be surprised, bro. I've been training for like 15 years. The problem is, when you're used to following enhanced people online, you forget what the natties are actually doing, how slow their progress is, especially if they're on the shorter side. I'm filled in, you know? You won't see too many guys with my size at this height. Taller guys realize that when they cut down, and I'm still heavier than them at the same weight, and I'm leaner. You know? Arm day or no arm day? For an advanced lifter who needs that extra specialization, why not? I might do it myself, because I think that's probably the missing link. I just think it would be a cool goal at your height, or really any height for natty. It's a great mark for natty lifter, in my opinion. Thank you, and I would 100% agree. That's like the holy grail of big arms. I think 16 is starting to become like a new average for guys who've been doing this for a decent amount of time. 17 is like, it's doable for a lot of guys, considering like if they're not short. And if you're really dedicated to this, you train hard for over a decade, I do think 18 is possible for a lot of guys. And if you're tall, it's 100% realistic. Like anyone who's 6 feet, there's no reason why you should not have 18s, says me. Because if I can have 17s being significantly shorter, then what's your excuse? Right? How much volume you do on volume day, and can you explain your volume day methods? I don't do volume days anymore. Like, my volume is relatively consistent. What changes is if I choose to use the max effort method, or if I do 2 sets versus 3 sets per compound. You know, I think the whole volume concept has been overblown. Like, the stronger I got, the less volume I needed. That's been my experience. I can't do high volume on heavy ass bench. I could do it when I'm weaker, if I'm shredded maybe, or if I'm doing like a lot of push-ups and dips. But for me to do like 5 sets with over 300 pounds, I'm talking reps here. Like, it's draining stuff, you know? Do you stretch pecs after push day? No, I do not. But I do hang off a pull-up bar to traction out the shoulders. You open up that area. Yeah, the thoughts on the new research regarding protein. The thing is, you see, guys can't even agree on that either. Because you got Dr. Milo Wolf saying that 1.5 grams per pound might be better. But then you got Menno rebuttaling, saying that the majority of the studies referenced did not show that correlation. You know, and Milo's getting a lot of criticism for that. So I don't know. Once again, I'm confused. So all I could do was base things off my experience of training for all this time. And what I could say is, last year I got shredded on a very high protein diet. I'm talking 200, 220 grams a day. Sorry, 2 years ago. And then last year, I did it with 120 grams. So like 100 grams less. And I was doing more cardio. And I'll tell you what, I didn't notice any difference. Even now, maybe I was getting 150 grams of protein a day. That's less than my body weight. You know? Like, for me to go over 200 grams, I don't think it's needed. Like, it didn't stop me from benching 405. I don't know. I'd like to see more data. And I'd love to see a video with Menno and Milo duking it out. That would be an awesome debate. Yeah, Alex been lifting 2 years with good intensity, bulk several times, plus good blood work, but still stuck in novice purgatory. Am I cooked? No. Thanks for your donation, but it's possible that you are not a novice lifter. When you say novice, like, what numbers are we talking about here? How low are you on, like, would you be able to lay out your numbers right now so I could give you a better breakdown? Because here, my man Powell just said 2 years and several bulks. Does that mean you've been bulking and cutting? Because that could be a problem. Ideally, if you've been bulking for 2 straight years and now yo-yoing your weight, then that would do a lot for getting out of the novice phase. But if you're going through phases of dieting, well, that can really stunt your progression. But either way, it still shouldn't have taken more than like a year to become an intermediate. So maybe you are an intermediate and you're just basing it off arbitrary numbers. Like, you got to bench 2 plates, squat 3, and deadlift 4, right? But what if you're not capable of inducing linear progression anymore? That it's by default going to be less. That is a possibility. Maybe you're benching 185 and you're like, but Alex, I didn't even hit 200 yet. But that's your intermediate phase. You know how you're going to know, bro? If you run the conjugate system today, if you overcome that plateau after a month of training and it's like fast progress, you just boom, blow right through it, then you know you weren't a novice. But if after 2 years you're seeing really slow progress all of a sudden, I don't know. To me, it sounds like you got to change what you're doing. But don't forget about the diet aspect. That is a consideration. That part's a little bit, I don't know how I feel about that. His numbers are in the chat. I don't see his numbers though. Oh, you gave me kilos. Oh God. Now I gotta, so look, pounds to kilos. Yeah, 155 bench, 2 plate squat, and RDL is less than your squat. I haven't really focused on deadlifting. Well, there's no way you tapped out your RDL gains. So maybe just by focusing on that, it's going to bleed into the rest of your lower body training and you'll start to kickstart new squat progress again. But 2 plates for reps on the squat is not bad at all. Your bench could be better, but it's hard for me to tell, like, if you're more built for bench or deadlifts because you didn't push your deadlifts. So what I'm saying is, if you actually trained your deadlifts equally, maybe you'd be at like 300 pounds on the dead, and then your bench would be 155. Which, funny enough, I'm coaching a guy right now, and he's benching 160, squatting 205, and deadlifting 300. All for reps, okay? So his deadlift is his best lift. That's the one that he's like, it just scales in a crazy way. But it's not long he's been working out, you know? It hasn't been long at all. So that's why his bench is proportionally lower. He just has these crazy long arms, you know? So maybe that's the same for you. Maybe you should be deadlifting 300, but you're not. So the first thing I would try to address is that. But I don't know. I feel like you can get a bit stronger still. Okay. I think I want to start wrapping up soon. I'm just going to look at some of these questions that I missed and answer a bit more. Plus, I really got to pee. That doesn't help the situation. That's the worst, you know? Where is it? Got cancer and lost 20 kilos. Was already small for my height. Put the weight back on and more in 8 weeks. Muscle memory is real. Thanks for all, Alex. Wow. Well, first of all, congratulations on defeating cancer. That is, big salute for that. You know, when you know someone who's going through it and you see that it's not getting better, it's hard to see, especially when the family members are being affected by it and you're close to them, So you bounce back. It kills most people. You beat it. Like, talk about being a resilient lifter, right? Maybe that helped. And now, not even 8 weeks, the gains are back. That's another benefit of being natural. You never lose the gains. It's a permanent checkpoint. So you don't have to rely on drugs. Just your effort alone was able to do that. Big congrats on that, man. That's awesome. What was your highest body weight? What was the weight the first time you benched 315? My highest weight was 200 pounds, which I hit in 2022. Like right around the time that I squatted 507, a bit before that. The squat, I believe I was 195 when I hit it. And the first time I benched 315, God, I must have been like 170 pounds or 173 or 175. I don't remember. I think the first time I hit it, it was 2014 with my ass off the bench a little bit, or was it 2015? I think it was 2014. But I was actually quite lean when I did it. I've always had good pound for pound strength on presses. The only time my pound for pound strength would go down is if I just finish a cut. But the moment I get out of the cut and I just eat at maintenance calories, my bench is always good, no matter how heavy or light I may be. So like I even did 315 for 8 at 172. This was only a couple months ago. So the 170s is a good zone for me. Where I'm at right now is just being a freaking slob. Think you can gain muscle in a deficit. If you are not an elite lifter, and you follow a very high protein diet if the deficit is aggressive, plus you're still trying to maintain your strength. Oh, what did I just lose a live stream? Whoa. Are we still here? What the hell was that? Sorry about that, guys. On my end, it just X'd out and it was reloading. Congrats. So if you're not an advanced lifter and you make sure to hit sufficient protein and you're not overdoing the volume, like you're just running, it's possible. Could I gain muscle in deficit? Probably not. I've yet to be able to do it. So I don't know how these fucking guys are coming out saying, oh yeah, it's totally doable. It's just as good as bulking. Like, then they reference a study where the average bench press 100 max is 225. I'd say, oh, trained lifters. So I've not been able to do it. So if you're able, congrats. But I think it has more to do with experience level. It's very hard to do. And the key is that your strength is somewhat maintaining. Like you're not bleeding out all your gains. Man, I'm getting a lot of questions here and I really gotta pee. Oh, okay. I think I'm just gonna take a little pee break and I'll be right back, okay? Because I've been holding it in like crazy and guys keep asking me questions. So give me Yo, yo. Thank you for your patience. My God. You know, this happens every stream where I'm just holding it in for hours and it's like, oh, you got so much to release after. Because I drank a lot of water, you know, got my stainless steel bottle on deck. You end up peeing more. Plus, I think it happens when you're a heavier boy. I gotta lose some fucking weight, guys. I hate feeling like this. Even my ability to talk. You know, I run out of breath more easily. I'm more... Actually, no, the breath thing is good. It's just I have a heavier body, so when I'm moving it around, I feel it. Especially when I do burpees, you know? Like, that's the hardest part about the burpees. It's just... It's like I'm wearing a weighted vest, you know? Let's see here. This dude is never going to answer my question. What's your question? How important is work capacity for someone who's trying to get as big as possible naturally? Is there a work capacity standard? Work capacity is important because it allows you to train really hard and actually complete your workouts without fatigue hurting motor unit recruitment, which is your ability to produce a lot of force. If you're gassing out halfway through, then it's kind of like those guys who throw in calves at the end of their workout and don't get much out of it, right? It's the same thing when we talk about the heavy compounds. If you just start your workout with squats, let's say you got 3 sets of 10 planned, and after the first set, you're already like dead. You know, then you grind out 2 more sets and you're about to throw up. You're on the floor just dying. Well, how's the rest of your workout going to look like? How are you going to do your deadlifts or your leg press or even like leg extensions, the leg curls? How hard are you going to be pushing your effort into that? And how bad is this going to get long term when you're a strong boy? You know, when you're squatting 4 plates for reps, when you're benching 3 plates for reps, those heavy weights are going to tax you. They're going to be crushing you, you know? And if you don't have that gusto, that ability to just, you know, just keep horsing and recovering from it, then you're not going to be able to finish your workouts. You're going to be too fatigued. Or if you do, it's going to be half-assed. You're going to have to dial back the intensity. So the secret is that work capacity allows you to maintain high intensity throughout the entire workout, no matter how strong you get. That's the real benefit. And it's why when you go through a cut and you start losing your work capacity, that's when the muscle gains, the muscle loss gets hyper accelerated. It's when you lose your fitness. That's a good sign that you got to end your cut. All right? Is this what I'm seeing again? I ran your novice program and got 185 bench for 5 reps. Very good. 375 high handle trap bar deadlift for 6. And 265 squat for 10. Yo! Well, first of all, congrats on becoming an intermediate lifter, because I'm pretty sure you are at this point. And that squat is especially looking nice. Well done, man. The novice program cost you €6. You basically just paid for it. But those are solid gains for sure. You should be real proud of yourself. And I could tell that you're happy. Thanks for the donation, man. Keep up the good work. Now you got a whole new journey, the intermediate phase. Thoughts on torso and limb split, moving arms to limbs day and torso, chest, back, shoulders 4 times a week. My man, Onish Titan, thank you for that donation. I've never run a torso and limb split because my concern was always, well, first of all, I like the idea of doing chest and back and then arms the next day. But this idea of hitting shoulders a day after chest, it's a hard pill for me to swallow, because when I finish like heavy bench, whether it's flat or incline or doing dips, my shoulders are very sore the next day. So for reference, I did weighted dips on Monday. I did 2 sets of weighted dips and 2 sets of incline bench. My shoulders are still sore as hell today. You know? And we're Friday. So if you're going to do like a grueling chest workout, then you're going to go in the next day and do behind the neck presses or shoulder press or whatever. And you're going to do that 4 times a week. Like how's that going to work? That's what I don't get. See, the only way you can get away with this, and I might experiment this with myself, is if you don't do compound movements on the shoulder day. So you'd have to do bench on Monday, then Tuesday you come in and you're hitting rear delt flies or band face pulls or lateral raises. But if you're going to do OHP a day after bench and you did volume on that with some heavy ass weight, I don't see how you're going to recover. So that's my problem with it. And that too, let's say you want less shoulder from your bench. You switch from a wide grip to a close grip, right? Now you're getting more triceps in there. Well, now your triceps are also going to be under recovered going into the arm session the next day. So you're going to do close grip bench, maybe with chains. Then the next day you're hitting in extensions and push downs and all this stuff. I find that you're in a way overtraining. It's too much work. Like you need a day of recovery in between, at least 48 hours between the presses and that arm work if you want optimal recovery. Now, if you manage to hit your chest and back in a way where your shoulders are good and you can do a little bit of isolation work right after the next day, that's fine, I guess. But if you're going to do military press and benching back-to-back days, I don't see how that's possible. I can't do it. But that's just me. Hey, we got my man Jude. Yeah, that's crazy. Welcome to the live stream. Thanks for tuning in. And keep up the good work with the channel. I see you with those benching videos. OG giving advice. Like straight up, Jude, you inspired me a lot. When it came to my 405 bench journey, I had lost that fire for a number of years. But after coming across your channel, it's like, oof, the spark, I felt it. And that kept me going quite a bit. So I give you a lot of credit for sure. And it was just very inspiring to see a guy your age putting all these youngsters to shame, like I'm always saying. It was a real breath of fresh air, not being afraid to speak your mind. So nothing but respect for you. And if you guys haven't already, like, check out Jude's channel. You're in for a real treat. Real old school wisdom, advice that actually works. He will not steer you in the wrong direction. Like, he's a bench specialist. 500-pound Larson press, flat back at 50 years old. Who's doing that? All right. Thanks for your channel, your inspiration. Thank you, Jackson. Sample leg day at home with only loadable dumbbells, adjustable bench, and calisthenics, running an upper lower three times upper lower upper. Okay. So if you're doing legs once a week, in my opinion, you should increase your volume. Because when you look at the hypertrophy research, the muscular outcomes appear to be the same once volume is equated. So if you're doing, like, I don't know, 3 sets of squats twice a week, that's 6 sets for your quads, you could say, right? Assuming it's with heel elevation and whatnot. Which means that if you're only doing this once a week, you're going to need more than 1 squat variation if it wasn't already in your program. So that's where I'm getting at here. So whatever you were already doing, double your volume. Now, in my opinion, if you just have loadable dumbbells, a bench, and calisthenics, so you have no barbell, you're going to have to do... The bench could be used for box squat variations and pistol squats, weighted. I find that it's better to do it one leg at a time when you're standing on something. So don't do the pistol squat off the floor. It's a lot more unstable, and you're going to have a hard time hitting depth with a heavy weight. But if you stand on a box, that problem is immediately gone, you know? So that's how you could use your bench, and you could do pistol squats on it as well to make it more difficult. So you grab like 2 dumbbells, hoist them to your shoulders, leg out in front, and that'll be like your heavy overloading variation. That's how you should open up the workout. Either a pistol box squat, a regular pistol squat, standing on the bench. Yeah, those two. And then for accessory work, you should do Bulgarian split squats. Again, foot on that bench. And you can go very heavy on these. If you're doing like 100 pounds per hand, which you said you got loadable dumbbells, that shouldn't be a problem working up to over time. That can be interchanged with reverse lunges. So what we're looking at is 2 or 3 sets of the pistol squat, 2 or 3 sets of the Bulgarian split squat, or any lunge variation of your choice. And then you're going to want to do a sissy squat immediately after, because this will give you even more high quality volume for the quads. And it'll be your leg extension replacement. So you're actually going to hit the rec fem, destroy it. So I recommend the pendulum sissy squat, but you don't have that, you don't have a belt or whatever. So just do a regular sissy squat, and you can even take that dumbbell, put on your chest, grab onto something, and then get the motion in. Alternatively, there's a reverse Nordic curl, which is being on your knees and then just laying all the way back and extending back out. That's what you do for quads. Then you finish off your workout with a regular Nordic curl. But I don't know how you're going to set that up given your setup. So maybe you can get some monkey feet or something to strap that dumbbell to your legs so that you could do some leg curls. And that's basically all you'd have to do. You run that leg workout, you can go pretty far with body weight training and minimal weight, I sent a super chat earlier. Let me check you out, Charles G. Charles G. I'm 38. I started lifting mainly last year and pushed the past 4 months to benching 315 and working for 4 or 5 this year. I also want 4 or 5 for squat, deadlift, and RDL. Yeah, I remember your comment, man. I told you that you look bigger than you look. First of all, that's crazy. Like, you're already benching 315 in 4, and pushed the past 4 months to benching. Okay, so you started lifting in a year, and the last 4, you got 3 plates. Like, that's, I'm just going to say, man, you got good genetics. You're one of those guys. You're definitely going to get 4 or 5. Now, to me, that's such mind-blowing progress that you should be posting your footage, You basically 315 bench in a year, 4 or 5 on the second year. I can only think of one other guy who's managed that kind of progress, which is Freaky D. Apparently, he benched 4 plates after 1 year of lifting. This is reminiscent of those times, And, yeah, the fact you did this at 38, so you're not starting off as a guy in his early 20s, that makes it even more impressive. So that's a real inspiration, and it's also scary, Like, goddamn. That leg training advice works for us with bad backs. Yeah, the sissy squats are a good way to train your quads if your back is a problem. Especially like the pendulum style, you put the belt directly underneath you. It's not going to cause any problems, and it's the same thing as if you would have a heavy bar on your back, biomechanically speaking. Because it's all about getting that tibia low. Like, you don't need much weight at all. I think the max I ever did was like 70 pounds on the sissy squat, and I was squatting 500. Juji Mufu, who I believe was squatting 600, he couldn't even do a sissy squat with 135. So he took the SSB, put on a plate per side, couldn't do it. So it's really a lift that you get more out of less weight. It's a crazy lift. But yeah, my man, I think you will get that 4 or 5 bench. If it's not this year, it'll be the next. And in regards to the legs, like, what are you doing there? Are you slacking? Because you should be at least 4 or 5 on all those lifts. You don't want to be a guy who's benching more than his RDL, At 38 years old, Justin. Alex, I gotta head out. I'm gonna miss seeing you live again, but I always love you interacting with us. Thank you. May I get a fist bump? It's always a pleasure, Zoko. It's fun doing these live streams. Thank you, Alex. I do have a living belt, so I can use it for Nordic curls on my bench. Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's... You know, it's funny you mentioned that, because when I started doing Nordics in 2022, that's how I did it. I used my gymnastic rings, and I would strap my feet up from behind me to get the Nordic curl movement in. And then I would place it underneath my power rack and put on some bands. That's a great option. Hey, Alex, what's your opinion on tree lifting? In my opinion, it's the most exciting and interesting strength sport out there. Curious if you think the same. I do think the same. It's a sport that I would actually compete in. I think it's absolutely badass. Weighted dip, weighted pull up. With like these guys, man, they're repping 225 on the weighted pull ups, over 300-pound dips. And the best part is the majority are still natty because it's not a popular sport. It's these guys in freaking Russia for the most part. And now you got Americans on it too. Who are just, because there's all kinds of parks out there, right? And they're just getting after it with basic equipment. You go to a gym, okay? An indoor gym, and all you see are pull-up bars and dip stands. That's crazy as hell. That's like going to a powerlifting gym and all you see are power racks, right? So these guys, they're living this. You know, there's over 1,000 workout parks in Russia, I think. And now you got actual gyms, and these dudes, I mean, they're putting up numbers that I don't even know how the fuck they do it. Because I'll be honest, guys, I tried doing 6 plates on the weighted dip, and I failed. I couldn't lock the weight out. So I did it with 5.5 plates. That's a 440-pound dip. I think that's really strong. You know, and I could see myself maybe hitting a 500-pound total dip, or maybe dipping like 7 plates by the end of the year. But these guys are dipping 350, you know? And they're not much bigger than me, but they're able to do it because that's what they chose to specialize in. And the pull-ups is just, I don't know, man. It's respectable stuff. It inspires me, and I would love to compete because I think even right now, I have some elite numbers that would do well in an American competition. Like if I come in and I hit a 250 dip and a 190 pull-up, I do that at like 181. I mean, I think that's pretty damn competitive. Now, my only problem with tree lifting, and I will say this is a problem, is the barbell back squat. That should not be in the total. Fuck the legs. It should only be weighted dip, pull up, and muscle up. But the muscle up should be a separate thing. It should be like a big 2. Weighted pull up, weighted dip, see what you can muster up. And then if they want to do like a big 4 kind of thing on the side, but it doesn't really count, then you could throw in the muscle up and the squat. But the problem with the squat is you could have some powerlifter come in and beat everyone just because he specializes in the lift that allows you to put the most amount of weight on. What if that guy, Jesus, comes in? I'm serious. And he hits a 1,000-pound squat, and he does like a body weight pull-up, or like 10 pounds on the weighted pull-up and 10 pounds on the weighted dip, you know? I know he could do a lot more than that, but you can have some dude who comes in with the craziest squat and just beats the competition from a total standpoint. So I think the squat needs to be eradicated for the competitions that are doing it. Jesus can't do a muscle-up, though, I know. And actually, he could do pull-ups, which is pretty insane considering his weight. But I find that the leg, because your squats can get so strong naturally, that distorts the entire ratio. So to me, it has to be upper body only. It has to be a sport where legs don't matter. Says me. You know? But other than that, I think it's a fantastic sport, and these guys are really strong. No arching bullshit. You know? Full range of motion pull-ups, chin over the bar. Like, if you're strong, you're strong. You can't hide it, you know? You see a dude doing pull-ups with 5 plates and more. You see a guy doing plus 300-pound dips. I mean, Respect all the way. Sound like some guy arching on the bench with a super wide grip, It's legit. I respect it. Congrats on 405 pause, bro. Thank you, Arham. It felt good to hit it again with a nice clean pause. And I even misgrooved it because the freaking strap was a bit too high. Those straps are meant for a 43-inch depth rack, not 24. So that messed me up a bit. That's why I'm going to buy some new ones, Oh, thoughts on the ghetto cable leg curls for home gym. It's good up until a point. So once you hit about 100 pounds on a 1-to-1 cable, because you don't have stability on top or like right behind the knee, you can't really go heavier because then you're raising your body off the floor. You'll know when you hit that point, but it's a limited exercise in terms of progression. Unless you could find a way to maybe you put you put a plate on your chest. I haven't tried that yet. Maybe that would work, but it's like you can only go up to like 100 pounds. And for you to have like really thick hamstrings, you'll need to do way more than that. Like 150, 200, like whatever you could leg extension, that's what you should be able to hamstring curl. So if you can do the ghetto leg curl with 90, 100 pounds, it's going to have to be high reps, like 20, 30 reps. But if you're doing sets of 10 with that, and then you try, going a bit heavier and matching that rep range, it's not going to work out. I already tried. Other than that, it's a great lift. Jonathan, let me check you out. Fan funding. Wait, I just answered it. What? I just answered your question, man. Not my super chat. Sorry. Brother, you missed my super chat. I'm sorry about that. RD. Let me check you out. 6 feet, 190, 31.5-inch waist. Nice waist size. I've hit 50 times 8 on alternate dumbbell curls and 45 times 8 at dumbbell sculls. Arms still stuck at 16s. What standard will get them to 17s? Well, first of all, you're a lean guy with a 31.5-inch waist. So I would even say that, like, if you were to just bulk to a 34-inch waist, you'd probably already have 17s. So 16 lean is more, that's what it is. And regarding your strength, your curls are pretty good. I mean, those are both, with those numbers, I would expect your arms to be like 16 and a half maybe, because that's where mine were when I was hitting that, so it's not unusual. But I think in your case, you're going to need at least 60 pounds on the dumbbell skull crushers and also 60 pounds on the curl. So I think those need to be about equal. And you need a bit more, because adding 10 pounds on that is going to take you like the entire year. So if you go in a good caloric surplus, you're hitting the 60s on the curls and the skull crushers. I don't want to say guaranteed, but you have a higher chance because you're lean for your height and you're already really strong at those lifts, and there's more potential, but you're gonna have to micro load and it's gonna take a lot longer because 50 pounds is when the plateaus start to kick in on these arm isolations. So it's not unusual. It is what it is. You just need a bit more time. So I hope that answers your question. No, I don't know who that guy is. Elijah? No clue. Hey, appreciate your content. Heard about you from Phil. Excited to see what you do in 2025. Stay tuned. I appreciate the shout out from Phil. He's the original OG. I've been friends with Phil for a decade now. You believe that? It's 10 years. I'm close with him. Pretty crazy. And like I talk a lot with him behind the scenes. You know, we've had many phone calls together, hours and hours of conversations. Like he's the one guy that I could talk to like without limits. We wave off each other, you know. A very good guy. Phil has insane clavicles, each shoulder, isn't it? Yeah, Phil's the widest guy I know. I told you guys, I've been to Ohio and I saw these bodybuilders. And no joke, Phil is wider than a lot of them, even the enhanced guys. He's just got this crazy structure. If you meet him in person, you know what I'm talking about. It's a surreal thing to see. He's just broad, you know? He's built like a superhero. Okay, what I miss here. What do you think of this split? Upper lower rest, upper lower arms rest. Here's the problem. Well, first of all, I like that there's a rest day between the upper and the arms. But the gamble is now you're not going to get 72 hours of recovery for the Monday upper body workout. You're only getting 48 hours. So if you're going to run a split like this, like technically for maximum recovery, the arm day would have to be on the Friday. But you're doing legs on that Friday and you don't want it back to back after upper, right? So the way around it is on the upper body day, you don't do arms at all. So it's just chest and back. So it's like an upper lower torso limbs hybrid. So chest and back on Thursday, arms on Friday, or you keep it on the Saturday, but you do low volume. I'm talking like a set per exercise. And you do isolations only, no compounds. Because if you do something like a close grip bench or a dip with chains or whatever, you might not be recovered for the Monday upper body session because you did not get 72 hours. So it is a doable split, but the volume and the exercise selection needs to be altered very slightly. That's how you'll get away with it. All right, my man Comio. Agree with abs maintenance volume equals 0 plus squats and deadlifts. I do agree, yes. 100%, man. I would even say that your abs can get thicker if you just do heavy axial loaded movements. Now, it might not be the most optimal way. It's best to include like a decline sit-up or a leg raise or something. But there's a lot of isometric tension when you're lifting these heavy weights that even if like the proximity to failure is not quite there, over time your abs get significantly stronger and they will grow. Like there's a reason why some guys who are like, oh, I can squat 500, deadlift 6 and I don't train abs. Look how thick they are. Well, it's kind of true. Like if you're doing freaking reverse SSB good mornings with 2 plates, like your core is contracting hard. If you're doing front squats with 3 plates for reps, like you feel your abs, you know? So even though like, you know, you want to lengthen out and then contract, like and the lengthened position is the most hypertrophic, isometrics still build muscle. Like that's what guys seem to forget. It's like when we talk about the spinal erectors, if you just did hip hinges, you'd probably have some thick erectors. You didn't have to dynamically round and extend your spine, right? You could do that. That's the best way, sure. But the point is, you still got bigger with isometrics only. So I do think that your abs will be maintained if you just do heavy squats and deads, for sure. How you doing, Brony Maloney? Pull-up frequency when you're above 220, same thing. I don't see how that would change. Like, if you're doing especially weighted pull-ups, right? You got to look at the total weight being lifted. So if I'm like, if I'm 180 and I'm doing 100-pound pull-ups, well, that's 280 pounds. And I'm still going to do that twice a week, right? So why would a guy who weighs 200 and he's doing 45 pounds on a weighted pull-up, why is he going to do that once a week or whatever? Like, it doesn't change anything. If you equate the total load, it makes no difference. Where it matters is if you're doing body weight only. Okay, now we have a different story here. Like, if you're a big boy, you know, it's not the same game. And I do think that starts to change in the 220 to 250 zone. Maybe 250. But before that, like, this isn't a problem for most guys. I'll just be honest, you know. Okay. We ever see a Noble Natty collab with you? GVS, Baldness Man, and NH, also unrelated, but are we going to get a new program from you in 2025? So, I've actually collaborated with all three of those guys. I've done interviews on my channel. But yeah, I would like to get them back on. NH, we've done 2 interviews. Baldness Man 1. GVS, we got to get a second in. But I've also been in like a trio collab with Dave McConey. So we've been interacting for a number of years now, you know. But just like having them on my channel, like direct, that would be awesome. The problem with GVS, obviously, is where he lives. But if I ever went to China for whatever reason, you bet my ass I'm hitting him up. Bald Omni-Man, we could definitely connect. NH, I don't know how his situation is, but that would be really cool as well. I would love to collab with all three of these gentlemen. And imagine all of us being in the same room working out together. Ooh, now that would be cool, you know? But I think the closest one to me would be Bald Omni-Man in terms of distance and all that. So that's something that we can work out. I think it's doable this year. So I would probably look out for him first. And for a new program, yeah, I talked about it at the beginning of the video. You're going to get more than one. So I'm going to try to release a new program every 3 to 4 months. NH can teach you some French. I already speak French. So that's not a problem. We'll talk to each other in French, but that's about it. Difference is he's got that France accent and I got the Quebecois accent. So they're not the same. Best prisoner style calisthenics training program. First of all, burpees every single day. Secondly, around the world. That's all you got to do. So keep it simple. Do 5 to 10 pull-ups. No rest. 10 to 20 dips. No rest. About 20 to 30 push-ups. Rest a minute and do that for 10 to 15 more sets. There's your prison workout. You can also do down routines, supersetted. So you could do like the thing is they don't scale equally depending on the lifts. Like down pull-ups are a lot harder than down push-ups, so you can even split them up. Like one day you can do a 30 down push-up routine, which is 465 reps. And then day 2, you can do a 15 down pull-up routine. And if it's not enough volume, then you can throw in inverted rows as well. But it's basically going to be upper body only. For legs, I mean, you got the variations that I talked about before with the other question. But you're going to have to do a lot of reps. Like some guys even do 1,000 squats a day. You know? Like the way I see it is, if you're doing burpees every day with the rocking chair form to hit the quads, which is basically you touch your tippy toes and then you bend your legs, then jump into the burpee. You do burpees every day. You do like your down workouts on push-ups and pull-ups. You can even throw in dips. Like you can have a rotation where it's push-up day 1, pull-up day 2, dips day 3. And then day 4 you do pull-ups, then repeat the whole thing, right? You do that with 1,000 bodyweight squats a day. Like you're going to be pretty set, you know? So that's how I would run it. Best diet for health and skin. Whole food plant-based, man. I'm telling you. You're going to have this natural glow to your skin because of the carotenoids. You're not going to look all red like a tomato, like these juice heads who are following diets that are very trendy. I'll check it out. What's the best way to know your body fat? A gym trainer said he thinks I'm 20%, but I don't know if that makes sense. I'm 6 foot, 270. Well, look, just off your height and weight, you're probably even more than 20% body fat. Like, I know you said you bench 3 plates, and that's great, but 270 is, I mean, that's big boy weight. That's what I think Eric Bugenhagen weighs right now. Similar stats, but he's benching 500, you know, and I would say his body fat is probably around 20%. So you're probably like 25. How do you know? It's hard to know. It takes experience to get it down, but a good way is to just look at your waist measurement. And actually using calipers tends to be more accurate the heavier you are, because you have so much fat that you can grab onto. So that's worth considering. And of course, visually with time, you get better at assessing that. In the beginning, it's kind of confusing, but you know, you've only been training for a year, but after 5 years, you're going to know. But if you were at like a real 20%, you can still see your abs, but barely. And your stomach is kind of flat, but it pops out a little bit. Like if you look at your chest from the side, like your stomach might be level with the chest or a little bit out, but you're still going to see your abs. Eric Boog is not at 20%. What do you think he's at? I'm just curious. Because I think he's 20%. He's not lean right now. He's kind of fluffy. If you look at his face, it's not chiseled like it used to be. And like you can see it on his stomach, you know? He's been a lot leaner. He used to be 230, and he was significantly leaner. Like that was like 12% body fat. So it's not, he's a heavy guy, you know? Okay. Iron Wolf style program. Well, you can check out Iron Wolf's program. He released it. You could pay for it. It's not that expensive. But the best way is basically what I just answered with the prisoner style routine. So this is kind of like a 2-for-1 question, you know? So I wouldn't really re-outline it. Sorry about that. Jackson, thanks for your channel, your inspiration. Thank you. It's my honor to do this for you guys. Okay. Best exercise science book for beginners. God, for beginners, I'd probably say Science and Practice of Strength Training by Vladimir Zatsiorsky. That's like the OG that came out during the Soviet era, and it's applicable to advanced lifters. So it's an older book, but that's where you'll learn about the max effort method and a lot of stuff that came from Olympic weightlifting and even shot put. It's a good like strength manual that gives you the fundamentals. Like it's a timeless classic. So you can find that online. It's a must read for sure. It's very easy to read as well. They sound like super training. That I would stay away from. You can also check out the NSCA handbook. So basically, if you were trying to get your CSCS, you need a bachelor's degree, but you could still read the damn manual for yourself, even if you're not going to get qualified. So get the textbook. You can buy it on Amazon. I think now they're at the 4th edition. When I read it, I think it was the 2nd edition. You know? So read those. Okay, what else we got here? Alex, I just want to say weighted calisthenics and bench press, OHB, rack pulls, deadlift, and squats went from 90 pounds to 186. God damn. First of all, weighted calisthenics, you can't go wrong. But then look at that. The basics. Bench, OHB, rack pulls, deadlifts, and squats. You mean to tell me that you doubled your weight and you didn't do all this craziness with the exercise selection? You just got stronger at these time-proven classics? Hell yeah. And thank you. For volume days, you do the variation you performed on your max effort. Example, max effort Larson press, 1 rep max, plus 3x10. Volume day, Larson, 3 to 5 sets at 55 to 65. Okay. Yes. That's exactly what I do. And there's 2 ways to go about it. So on the volume day, there's not going to be the 1 rep max. Obviously, that's scrapped. You can either continue the 3x10 and use that as the wave. So let's say you did 55% on Monday. Thursday, now you're not doing the max effort. You're going to do 60% with the 3x10. So that's already beginning the plus 5% increase per session. Now, if that's too aggressive for you because it's going to be like every workout, you slash that in half, 2.5%. This way, it's 5% increase per week. So you're going to get a good 3 weeks of progression. That's how I would do it. I would do, straight up. Like, that's the best way. Or you forget about the percentage altogether. Stick to the same variation, okay? And do a top set, back down set approach. So 1 set of 4 to 6, and then 1 set of 5 to 8-ish. And that's all you'll need if you're not doing the max effort method. So I hope that's clear. Ham curl sub for power rack home gym athlete, by the way. Hammer curl substitute. The best way, so that means you don't have dumbbells, right? Only a straight bar. Well, you can actually buy neutral grip handles to do kind of like a Swiss bar curl. But if you don't want to do that, the easiest way is just wrap something around the bar so that you have a neutral grip. Or wrap like a judo belt around some plates, and then you can do hammer curls across the body even, because now you're not going to have these big dumbbells in the way. It's actually an advantage. So just find something to suspend, whether it be the plates or from your bar, and you can do hammers no problem. Or just do hammer grip chins. Easy fix. What intermediate program would you recommend for someone who never does 1 rep max and focuses more on the 5 to 10 rep range? A high intensity bodybuilding kind of program. An upper lower push pull is very good. Regular upper lower or full body 2 to 3 times a week. You know, it's going to get repetitive, but I gave you a lot of recommendations earlier on in the stream for volume and exercise selection. But 3 compound movements, 2 sets apiece, 1 to 2 isolations. Do that twice a week. Split every 72 hours. Like that's pretty good, you know? And then rotate the lifts like at least every 3 months so that you keep your joints healthy. You minimize overuse this way. But in terms of specific programs, I mean, I can't really think of any at the moment. I would say anything that's conjugate inspired, but you just scrap out the max effort, that's probably a good way to go about it. You know? Do you think Matthew Vlad is natty? I do, but the bicep tear from the weighted chin up is a little bit sus. I'm not sure. I don't know. That feels a bit off. But I will say this. I have made a video on that variation, the wide grip chin, and it does feel like your bicep is going to freaking tear. It feels worse than like a straight arm curl on a flat bench. It feels like it's horrible. It's because what happens is you're not just supinated, right? You're an extreme, because the diagonal part is tilting this way, it forces the wrist to be like this. So you're in ultra supination. Like if I tell you to rotate your wrist out right now, you're going to feel your bicep contract, right? But imagine if a guy then pushes on it. You know what I'm saying? And the wrist is angled. It cramps the bicep in a very weird way. And you can't get out of that position because of the angle. And then to top it off, because you got that wide grip, there's a resultant force. There's a moment arm at the elbow. So that increases the pressure on the bicep tendon. So you got extreme supination plus the resultant. And then you got Matthew's lad doing over 5 plates on it. Maybe that's why he tore his bicep. That, or the muscles were growing faster than the tendons. It's one of those two things. Okay, when is your cookbook coming out? Yo, Devin, really love my time now. Got to run now. Peace. Thanks for being here. Yeah, listen, the cookbook thing, it's the lowest list of priorities. The first thing is I got to get these programs out. And once all that is done, we're going to end with the diet thing. So if the cookbook would probably come out in 2026 or at the soonest end of 2025, but I doubt it. And it would also be a plant-based cookbook. There would not be a single recipe with animal products in there. So know what you're getting yourself into. I don't eat like most guys. No, Alex, don't say that. It's the truth, man. Let's see. The best fitness YouTuber ever. The only credible source. Please make vids on your non-animal diet and cookbook, bro. Please. I want not to depend on eating meat forever, lol. Please, Papa, Daddy. No Diddy. Okay. All in due time. I told you this is going to be a year for you guys. I'm going to do my best to give you all kinds of content. And I do live in this new house, so my kitchen is presentable. It looks nice. And have a lot of experience with plant-based nutrition and getting shredded, all that. So there's a lot that I could offer. If people are willing to listen to what I have to say, and my track record is proof that I know what I'm talking about, then I think they'll be very surprised. But they got to look past certain prejudices that they may have about plant-based nutrition. But at this point, you see the results. It's kind of hard to deny them. So I wanted to wait to really prove to you, I got shredded. I got the 405 bench. Maybe now you'll listen to what I have to say regarding diet. Because my physique is only getting better and better. I'm only getting healthier. And I think that I'm going to delay the aging process. I'm following an evidence-based diet that is low in advanced glycation end products. Full of antioxidants. Full of micronutrients, you know? Like, I don't think I'm going to age much moving forward. I'm just saying. The diet makes a difference. But time will tell. What else? Okay. We're good. Okay. Gorillas don't eat meat. That's correct. How do you hit your protein goal on a plant-based diet? Well, if you consume a block of tofu a day, which is very easy, you maybe consume, and you have your beans every single day. So not just like your 5-bean medley, but also your lentils. And you can even blend the lentils and make like a tofu dish out of that. And then you also have 2 scoops of vegan protein powder. Just off that, you're set. But the easiest thing by far is 2 scoops of protein powder and at least a block of tofu a day. And the rest will just take care of itself. That's been my experience. I find that it's harder to get the protein when you're omitting the tofu. Alex, I don't think I've ever seen you do a push press. What do you think of it? I don't really have much training experience with the push press. I've probably done it a handful of times. I think there's some good opportunity gains to be made. The way I look at it is it's similar to overhead pressing with chains. except there's a cheating component, so you're not actually strict pressing through that bottom zone. So I could see it being useful for building lockout strength. It's a good overloader for sure. And Alexander Bromley has spoken extensively about its benefits. Like in the strongman world, it's a very common lift. So I'm sure it's awesome. I just don't have any experience with it, so I have no clue. Like, could I do a push press with 250 right now? Probably, but I don't know. I have no skill with it. I've never done a training block with it. I don't know. I'm sure it's awesome though. Brother, I was the 155 guy that does Muay Thai in August. You told me to milk you Novice program. I emailed you details under the name Elias or Elias. Trying to do 3 times rotating upper lower splits. Thoughts? Are you talking about like an A-B setup? So 1 week you're doing upper body twice a week, and then the other week it's legs twice a week. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a great way to train, but it is because you're pressed with certain obligations, in this case being the Muay Thai. So that is a good split for that purpose. But I would say full body is even smarter. I'm coaching a guy right now who does kickboxing, and we're training him full body twice a week. He has kickboxing on Monday. Actually has it on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So I hit him full body Tuesday morning and then full body Friday morning. We can also switch him to Wednesday, Saturday, but that's the split that is working best for him right now. For you, I'm guessing the 3 times a week is the only, that's the max frequency you could hit. But I would say if you're able to get in there 3 times a week, why not just do full body? At least everything will recover together, because the days where you have twice a week legs, that's going to be more taxing towards your Muay Thai training. Whereas if you just drop your volume a bit and hit the full body, I don't know. I think it'll serve you better. And it seems like you have the flexibility. And you can stick to the AB setup. My OHP and barbell curl went up by 15 pounds, but other lifts plateaued, indicating I should be done. I'm not 169. Can I book a one-time paid consultation to discuss the program in depth? Okay, so you want a real in-depth thing. Look, if you want to build a program together with me, sure. Let's book a call. I'll check out that email, and we'll see what your availabilities are. We'll get this taken care of live together, because right now, I don't even see the program, But sure, I'll help you out, man. And thank you for that donation. I'll put that in my notes for you. Okay. Clarence Kennedy, vegan fusion. Yeah, the difference is he's not natty. So the thing is with this vegan thing, and I did talk about this, it's important that the guys are not on drugs, because then they're just going to blame it on the enhancement. See, with me, they can't say anything, because this is my hard work. It's all on me. It's all on good dieting. But when you start mixing stuff in, it's like, oh, but you look like that because of roids. So you need to isolate the vegan diet. This is not me knocking on Clarence. He's a nice guy. And, he's been doing this longer than me. So ethically, he gets a ton of brownie points. But I can't, the enhancement thing bothers me a lot. And plus, he mogs me to hell. What am I going to do with him? He's going to be deadlifting 750, doing these deep acid grass squats with 600 plus. Where can I hang? Maybe some benching stuff, but even then, I don't know. Cool guy, but I don't think it's a necessary collaboration per se, unless he wants to do it. Sure. Is your girlfriend also vegan, Alex? She is pescatarian. Basically, she eats the same stuff as me, but if she goes to her mother's house or to the occasional restaurant, she might have some smoked salmon or whatever. But I would say she's basically vegan, because she eats identical, and she's very adamant about not cheating. She has not had any dairy or eggs in the last year. And she went to Paris as well. She didn't eat it. So I give her extreme props on that. She's been very disciplined, more consistent than I could have imagined. But she does have her fish once in a while. And that's her prerogative. The reason she does is because she doesn't feel sympathy for the fish. And that's fine. That's her choice, you know? But we don't have any fish in the house. There's none in my freezer. You won't find it. But I'm not going to give her a bunch of shit if she goes out and decides to have some smoked salmon, you know? Mon gars, t'as sauté ma donation. J'ai pas vu ta donation. ITML. T'es où? Oh, tu parles français? Tu veux savoir qu'est-ce que je pense d'une personne qui dit que je prends des choses. Mais c'est pas vrai. Tout le monde sait ça. La seule raison qu'il crée ces vidéos, c'est parce que son channel, ça va pas bien. Il a besoin d'une raison de améliorer son viewership. Tu me comprends? No, but in all honesty, I don't really care what he says. You send me a donation, so that's why I'm answering it. The thing is, it's like GVS is not natural apparently. And all these other guys who are legit lifetime natties. And because he has failed to hit very realistic numbers, he's just taking out his frustration on everybody else. And I don't know why he's choosing to do that. Like, I really don't think much about it, honestly. I don't really have anything to say. All my training's been documented over the last decade. There's never been any weird shit going on with my progress, with my physique. It's all realistic. The numbers I do, I'm not even that impressive compared to some of the silver era goats. Like, I've done a 507-pound squat, a 600-pound sumo deadlift with straps, and a 405 bench. Those are my best numbers. If you need steroids to achieve those numbers, then you need to quit lifting. Straight up. If you are enhanced and you're hitting those numbers, you're fucking weak. And unfortunately, this individual, like, he's around similar numbers for the lower body, and the upper body, like, he hasn't even hit that. You're on drugs and you can't bench 405? Like, that's crazy as hell. So, but apparently when he has a client that can hit the same numbers as me, now the guy's natty all of a sudden, right? It just seems like a contradiction. Again, it's just for the sake of views. And all I have is my word. My big balls and my word. I believe that's a Scarface quote, but it's true. I've never taken anything, and I don't plan on doing so. My physique and documentation speaks for itself. I've been maxing out for 10 years straight, 0 injuries. My tendons are made out of steel. I don't have any weird stuff going on with my physique. I'm aging well. I'm healthy. Like, I don't know what to say. And my numbers are 100% realistic. They've been done before in the past. And the noble natties are absolutely all drug-free. All of them. Bald-only man is natural. Natural hypertrophy is natural. GVS is natural. Basement bodybuilding is natural. If you don't see that, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. And regarding the whole GVS is weak thing, that's pure cope. Because as I pointed out many times before, GVS lifts heavier weights than me on the overhead extension. It's easy to say, oh, he doesn't have the strongest squat and deadlift. Who gives a fuck? He's not a power lifter. All the lifts associated with his strong muscles are strong. His overhead extensions are gnarly. There's powerlifters who bench 405 who can't do it. I can't. He's doing incline dumbbell curls with the 60s. That's heavy as hell. And then guys, and he's weighing in at 240 at 6 feet with 19-inch arms, and people are surprised. 19-inch arms have been seen before in the silver era. Leroy Colbert had 21-inch arms. You know, we've seen this measurement in the past. And that's all really guys are talking about when they say GVS is not natty. They're just looking at his big arms. But clearly, he has favorable insertions for it, and he's strong as hell on all arm lifts. And regarding the bench press being weak thing, he just hasn't tested it in a long time. And if you look at his incline dumbbell bench, he's doing the 120s for reps. It says kilos on it. I think it says 45 kilos or whatever, because he lives in China. But the guy is absolutely strong on relevant hypertrophy work. Again, this is the powerlifting dogma that exists in this industry. Oh, show me your total. My arms were 16 and a half inches the first time I hit a 380 close grip bench. I had 16-inch arms the first time I hit a 4-plate chin-up. Once I got the numbers I'm hitting now, on the isolation work, that's when they got up to 17. It wasn't the compounds that did it. My close grip bench is the same years later. So I just find it weird how everybody correlates these, like how big you are with the power lifts. Like there's other compound movements that are also great assessments of strength. And you got to look at the muscle that you're talking about. So to me, it makes perfect sense that GVS has those arm measurements. And I've been documenting it. I've been looking at his progress since 2020. Everything looks realistic to me. And even when we did our first collab, it's like, I knew he had a great physique. I'm like, fuck, this guy looks awesome. And his arms were like 17 or something at the time. He still looked jacked as hell. And the delts, like, when you get shredded, you'll realize that you have 3D delts. I don't even train my side delts. Barely. I can still do the 50s with a bit of power form, you know? But when I'm single digit, man, they look crazy. Right now, you wouldn't be able to tell because I'm a little bit fluffier. But when you're like a real sub 10%, oh yeah, the separation is off the charts. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Live chat. Do you like the Bell to Steel cable pulley attachment? Thank you. I don't use it anymore, but I did for like 4 years. Because I moved into my new home and I got my garage gym with the Bell to Steel cable tower, I'm good with that. It's, you know, you just pop it. But the ghetto cable attachment served me well for, like, I competed in fucking bodybuilding and I was using an attachment that you suspend from your pull-up bar. If you can't build a big back off that or get a good arm workout in, there's a problem. Like, anything more is just a luxury. The one thing you can't do is like dual cable stuff. That's a bit harder, but otherwise it's very versatile. Guys, my camera's about to die. So when it does, I think I'm going to shut this thing off. But now it's like, yeah. This was a crazy live stream. We've been at this for 3.5 hours. We're going blind with this one. Yeah. This was a good one, guys. This was real good. So, we're going to leave it at that. And this is going to be an exclusive where, I mean, you guys who were here got to see it. And for anyone who sent out a donation and you want to, you know, revisit your question or whatever, like, just I mean, I'll know who you are. You know, let me know. And I can send you a link because it will be unlisted. I'm just going to leave it like that. I don't want to be timestamping this long Q&A. This was a New Year celebration thing. You guys who showed up, much love. Next one will be up. So, it was fun chilling. Have a great night, Alex. Yeah, thanks for being here, Justin. My man, Barbell Bryce. Thank you. Artie, Alex, can you address my super from earlier? I'm pretty sure I did, Artie. Oh, yeah, but you did another one. What do you think of 3-week upper-lower split with dumbbell, AD press, RDL, and weighted pull-ups as my big 3? Also, how can I book a call with you? If you use the contact page on my website and just mention that you're Artie, you know, take a screenshot of this. I'll know who you are. We can book that. And regarding, oh, God damn it, the thing. Hold on. I knew this would happen. One second, guys. Way to end the stream, eh? Let's go. Back to life. Oh, yeah. And regarding your question about pesticides, there's tricks around that. Like for blueberries, you can get the wild ones. But Dr. Furman has a list of stuff that should be organic and things that should not be. Like, I think oatmeal should be organic, blueberries as well. But I'm not totally familiar on the list. Zeki, I'll answer your question in a sec. Sorry, I was just going back to Artie right here. Yeah, so the 3-week upper-lower is awesome, like we discussed before. And I actually ran that split not too long ago. Now, if you're doing dumbbell presses as opposed to barbell presses, I don't see anything wrong with that. Keep in mind, you're still hitting the AD, which is a stable barbell press. So, I mean, there's nothing lagging there. And then RDLs as opposed to conventional deadlifts, there's nothing wrong with that from a bodybuilding perspective and strength. And weighted pull-ups is the best back movement you could do. So the RDL is like your thickness builder. Then your weighted pull-up, you're going to get your wider lats and all that. So I think you got a lot going on here. I guess my only criticism would be to do a little bit more back volume. And don't forget this, to work your arms. Like if you're just going to do those lifts, you will have some muscular imbalances. But provided that those are your foundational lifts and you do a couple variations. So maybe the A day, you do a flat dumbbell press. And then your B day, you do an incline dumbbell press. Then the AD press, you just keep it the same. And then the RDL also. Or you mix in like a deficit RDL or, you know, with a pause or whatever. Then the pull-up, you do pronated and supinated. I think you're going to be just fine. And then regarding the Wenning versus Bromley situation, I don't know, man. I like both of these guys, regardless of what's going on right now. But I want to see how they continue to go back and forth because I have a feeling that the situation is not over. Let's see who defends their position better. This is some recent news, but I have been made aware, which is kind of crazy to see. JDR. Hold on, JDR. Got the OG JDR. Can you give an example when training conjugate like you used to? How should the 2-volume non-max effort days look? Like exercises and sets? Thanks. Okay. When the way I used to do it. God. Well, first of all, if you go on my full body playlist, you'll actually see those exact workouts. But the way it was an upper body workout. 2 presses, 2 pulls, and then 1 isolation for bis and tris. So usually, man, it was like a 3x10 on the flat bench, 3x10 on the overhead press. And then I would do 3 sets of like 5 to 8 on the weighted pull-up. And then I would do the same thing on a Pendlay row, either a Pendlay row, a bent over row, or an inverted row. And then I would do a tricep push down with the cables, and then a barbell curl. That's basically all I did, with some variations of it, you know. And the sets and reps were constantly being changed up. Like if you look at the, what do you call it? The naturally enhanced sets and reps chart. You will see what I'm talking about. It's all in there. Blaha is dedicating a live to you right now. Well, he can do whatever he wants. He's trying to get clout. It's pretty obvious. That's why he's attacking all these guys. And based off his title, like, it's the truth. I was the one running Conjugate, and he was making fun of my training style. Then he goes ahead and does the same thing. So it was a bad form of training when I was doing it. And then when he does it, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, you know? So I don't know what to tell you. It's clear that I inspired him. And how does he know about that if I went, like, that was the beginning of this live stream? Probably because maybe he was here lurking or something, or maybe he was the one who told people to ask these questions, so he's baiting. So I don't know what your problem is, bro, but the strategy of talking shit about people is not going to work. I don't know how you didn't get this through your head by now. And again, I don't have anything against you. I just don't know why you make shit up. You attack people who are actually natural. Like, do you want NH up your ass again? You're attacking people who don't use drugs, who are against degeneracy. I'm sorry that you succumb to doing that. But we're not on that shit, and we don't promote it. And this glorification of TRT, that's because you shut off your own balls. That's on you, bro. NH has been alerted. Well, I hope he does something about it. Cope harder. How does it feel that a natty is benching 405 and you're on all the fucking drugs and you can't do it? That you're still stuck at 365? And if you would have copied my fucking methods the right way, because you only did so much of it, you would have gotten your 4 plates. You could have done it too. Fuck, imagine that. All right, guys. I think we're done for today. Y'all have a good one. Happy New Year 2025. Look out for some crazy content. It's coming. Take care, Dom. Strong finish, DJ Noah. You forgot to show where you put the barbell in your elbow when Zercher squatting. I just rest it in the crook of my elbows so that it's not slipping out. And I bring my hands across like this. You know? So you put it right here, right on the tendon directly. And you have to do it without elbow sleeves, because or else it's going to slide forward and it's not going to be locked in. It's a pretty straightforward thing, man. Bye, legend. How do I contact you, Alex, to get the link? Just send me an email with a photo of your question. But I'll know if you send me a question because I could see all the super chats. They get logged. And I'll give that to you. All right. You guys have a good one. See you soon. Thanks, Alex. I learned a lot from you over the years. More to come. You just had to hit me one more question. Huge fan. Would you beat Jeff Nipper in the bench off now? Right now, I would. Because I just benched 405 3 weeks ago. So, yeah, definitely. But he did beat me back in the day. You know, But sometimes when you get beat, that's what gives you the fire to keep going. It's like, oh, I got to do this, you know? So there's lessons in that. Same thing in fighting. You know, you want to get beat up. You can't be around guys who are less than you. Little pro tip. All right. Y'all have a good one.